Good morning, my beloved friend. The world is still quiet, the sky just beginning to pale from gray to soft blue. If you listen closely, you can almost hear the breath of the earth as it stirs awake. Morning dew still clings to the grass, and a cool hush lingers in the air like a whispered invitation. It is early, perhaps the earliest hour of your day, and something about this time, this gentle beginning, feels sacred. Before the noise begins, before the demands call your name, before the world starts to rush, there is this holy moment. Just you, your breath, and the presence that never sleeps. This is not just another day. This is a beginning. And beginnings, no matter how broken yesterday felt, carry a quiet promise. A promise that today, something can shift. That perhaps, beneath all you are carrying, beneath all that still feels unresolved, hope has not given up on you. I want to tell you about someone. She wakes before the sun, not because she wants to, but because her anxiety does not let her sleep through the night anymore. Her room is dark, but her thoughts are louder than ever. She is exhausted in ways she can't describe. No one sees how tightly she holds it together. She smiles when people need her to. She shows up. But inside, it is a different story. The grief she carries has no name. The fear she fights wears many masks, financial worries, broken relationships, unanswered prayers, old regrets. She has moments when she whispers to God, but lately she wonders if He is still listening. And yet, she rises, not because she feels strong, but because something in her let go completely. Maybe it is you who understands this. Maybe you have been that person. Maybe you are that person. Or maybe you are standing beside someone who is. Whoever you are, wherever you find yourself this morning, if you feel tired, worn down, disappointed, or just unsure this space is for you. This is not a space of performance or perfection. This is a place of honesty, a place where weakness is not failure, a place where silence is not rejection, a place where the act of showing up, even with questions and tears, is a form of worship in itself. You do not need the right words. You do not need a clean story. You just need a willing heart. Because when you dare to be still before the God who sees everything begins to shift. Not always around you, but first within you. This journey we are beginning today is not simply a routine prayer. It is a series of sacred conversations. 24 mornings, 24 chapters, each one an invitation to breathe again, to believe again, to remember that your story is not over. These are not poems or religious formulas. They are soul-level truths. They are prayers for the dry places, the weary bones, the waiting hearts. Because sometimes we do not need motivation. We need healing. We do not need noise. We need nearness. We do not need another voice telling us to try harder. We need to be reminded that we are not alone, and that the God who made the sunrise also made a way for us to come close. Each chapter in this series will walk through a different moment of the heart. Desperation, surrender, restoration, joy, silence, breakthrough. It is okay if you do not feel all those things yet. This is not about forcing a feeling. It is about opening a door, about inviting the presence of the Holy One into the places you have kept hidden even from yourself. Prayer is not a performance. It is not a checklist. It is not a duty. It is a lifeline. It is a conversation between you and the one who already knows your pain and is not intimidated by it. The one who does not grow tired of your questions. The one who sees past the mess and leans in closer when the rest of the world steps away. There is power in prayer not because of how perfectly we say it, but because of how deeply God listens. There is peace in prayer not because our problems vanish, but because we no longer carry them alone. There is purpose in prayer not just to change our circumstances, but to change us within them. So this morning, do not rush and don't to scroll past this moment. Let this be the place where you pause, breathe deeply, and simply say yes. Yes to being real. Yes to being honest. Yes to letting go. Yes to starting again. The next voice you hear will not be mine. It will be your spirit rising, your soul remembering, your heart leaning in. Let us begin. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning I come to you from a place I do not always speak of, a quiet place beneath the surface where things feel heavy but hard to name. I am not here with a polished prayer or even clear thoughts. I am here with a weight I cannot carry alone and a soul that feels dry like a field waiting for rain. I do not pretend to be strong. I do not know how to dress up this desperation. I am not here because I have answers. I am here because I do not. Something inside me aches for more. More than just getting through the day. More than just putting on a brave face. More than this quiet numbness that feels like it has settled into the bones of my spirit. There was a time when I used to feel things deeply. I used to pray with fire, with tears, with joy that bubbled up without effort. But now it feels like the wind has gone out of my lungs. And all that remains is the echo of what used to be. Yet here I am, before the sun has fully risen, before anyone else knows I am awake, before the demands of the day pull at me from every direction. I am here because I believe, even if just a little, that you still meet people in the early morning hours, that you still draw near to those who are weary and worn and wondering if they have been forgotten. I believe that you see the places in me that even I do not fully understand. I miss you. I miss feeling close to you. I miss the nearness I once took for granted. I do not know when the distance started. I do not know when my prayers became quieter or my faith felt thin. But I do know this: I am not content to stay in this place. I want more than survival. I want more than shallow peace. I want to know you again, not just in theory, but in the marrow of my being. I want your voice to rise louder than my fears. I want your nearness to fill the hollow spaces. So I am reaching, not with eloquent words or tidy theology. I am reaching like a child reaches in the dark, hoping to feel the hand of someone stronger. I am asking you to meet me here, in this silence, in this thirst, in this morning where I barely had the strength to whisper your name. Pour something into the dry ground of my spirit. Let even one drop of living water touch what feels barren inside me. Let it be enough to start again. Sometimes I wonder if you grow tired of my coming back like this, broken again, needy again, empty again. But something in me dares to believe that you do not turn away from this weakness, that you do not withdraw when I have nothing left to offer but open hands, that you do not sigh in frustration when I whisper help for the 100th time. No, I believe you come closer. I believe you bend low to meet the broken-hearted. I believe you see this moment and call it sacred, not shameful. I confess I have been trying to do this on my own for too long. I have tried to numb the ache instead of naming it. I have buried my need instead of bringing it to you. I have worn strength like a mask and kept my cries locked in silence. But you already know, you already see, and so I surrender. Not with dramatic promises or grand declarations. I surrender with trembling honesty. I surrender because I have reached the end of myself, and I still cannot find rest. I do not ask for lightning or thunder. I do not need fireworks or visions. I just need to feel you near, to sense that you are still here, still listening, still holding what I cannot. I need to know that I am not alone in this wilderness, that even when I do not see the way forward, you are already walking ahead of me, that even when I feel lost, I am still held. Let this morning be the beginning of something new. Let it be the moment the tide turns, even if slowly. Let it be the place where you breathe on what feels dead and remind me that nothing is too far gone, not even me. Let it be the first thread of hope stitched into a heart that has felt unraveled. Let it be the sunrise of something sacred. I am not asking you to fix everything in a moment. I am not asking for all the answers at once. I am just asking for the strength to trust again, to believe again, to lift my eyes even when they are still filled with tears, to take one step today in the direction of faith, and when I cannot even walk, to let you carry me. You are not unfamiliar with sorrow. You are not distant from pain. You have walked through dark valleys. You have wept. You have waited. You have risen. So I lean into that, into the truth that you understand more than I know how to explain, into the comfort of being fully seen and still fully loved. Dear God, I do not come with perfection. I come with pieces, but they are yours. I place them into your hands, the cracked places, the tired dreams, the questions without answers. I place them at your feet and ask you to do what only you can, to take what is broken and hold it without judgment, to speak into the emptiness without condemnation, to remind me that nothing in me is too messy for you. This is not a dramatic ending. It is a quiet beginning, a soft, trembling yes to the journey ahead, a hand reaching in the dark, a prayer whispered at dawn, a soul that still believes, even after the silence, that you are near. And if you are near, then maybe, just maybe, there is still hope for tomorrow. There is still breath for today. And there is still healing for this moment right here. Let that be enough for now. Just this nearness, just this stillness, just this fragile opening of my heart again before you in the morning light. You heard me yesterday when I barely had the strength to whisper. You met me in the fragile place between holding on and giving up. And now, as this morning unfolds once more in quiet light, I return to this space not because I have figured everything out, but because something in me is beginning to believe that this sacred reaching matters. My voice is still uncertain. My hope is still rebuilding, but I am here, and I am crying out to you not with polished prayers, but with the ache of a soul that wants more than silence. Yesterday, I let the desperation rise to the surface. Today, I let it speak. I do not want to hide behind strength that is not real. I do not want to pretend that I am okay when I am not. There are parts of me that feel lost, places inside that have wandered far from joy. Like one walking through an endless wilderness, I look around and see dry ground stretching far in every direction, no signs of relief in sight. But I lift my head now and I call your name. Even from this barren place, especially from this barren place, I do not cry because I am faithless. I cry because I am honest. I cry because something inside is beginning to thaw. These tears are not a weakness. They are a sign that I still believe you are the one who hears. You are the one who comes close when everyone else stays at a distance. You are the one who knows what to do with a wilderness. So I raise my voice today not in anger, not in entitlement, but in deep longing. Let my cry reach beyond the clouds. Let it rise above my confusion and fear and doubt. Let it reach you where you are. Even though I do not fully understand where that is, I do not ask you to explain all that has gone wrong. I only ask you not to leave me here. Do not leave me wandering without your voice. Speak, even if it is a whisper. Move, even if it is just a wind in the trees. Touch the raw places in me that no one else can see. Heal the wounds that no one else understands. Hear the cries that I cannot even put into words. I need you, more than comfort, more than answers, more than resolution. I need you, your nearness, your breath, your light in this wilderness. It feels like I have been searching for a path without map. Like I am trying to remember something I never learned. Like I am reaching for something invisible but real. This wilderness is not just around me. It is inside me. I carry it in my questions, in my restlessness, in the way I pretend everything is fine when my heart is quietly unraveling. But I bring all of that here now. I bring it into the open. I stop pretending, and I start pleading. Rescue me not with grand displays or easy fixes, but with your presence that never fails. Come find me in the hidden places. Come guide me through the shadows. I do not need you to carry me the whole way today. I just need one step, one breath of grace, one reminder that you see me here, and that I am not forgotten in this wilderness. There are things I have prayed for, and waited for, and wept over. There are dreams I buried because it hurt too much to keep them alive. There are promises I stopped speaking out loud because I feared I had misunderstood you. And yet, in spite of it all, something in me still cries out. Maybe that cry is the strongest part of me. Maybe it is my act of defiance against despair. Maybe it is my spirit remembering that even when I cannot trace you, I can still call to you. You do not need me to be perfect before you respond. You do not ask me to earn your attention. You simply ask me to come. And so I come tired but willing, unsure but open, broken but unhidden. I lift up my hands in this desert, and I wait for you. I wait not as one who demands, but as one who trusts. I wait not as one who is entitled, but as one who knows that mercy still moves. There are days I feel like giving up, days when the weight is too heavy and the noise in my head too loud. But this cry today is not surrender to the darkness. It is a cry that carries hope. It is the sound of a soul still alive. It is a sound you have always responded to. So meet me here, in this vulnerable place, the place where I have no solutions, the place where I no longer pretend, the place where my voice shakes but still calls your name. Show me that this wilderness is not the end, that it is not punishment, that it is not a sign you are distant, but maybe, just maybe, a place where you are drawing me closer, stripping away what does not matter so that what remains is only what is true. I do not ask to be strong today. I ask to be real. I ask to feel you again, not in my emotions, but in my spirit. Deep down where no one else can reach, I ask you to turn this dry ground into sacred space, to make this wilderness a place of encounter, a place where your voice echoes louder than the emptiness, a place where I am transformed not because my surroundings change, but because your presence meets me in the middle of them. I surrender the pride that keeps me silent. I surrender the fear that keeps me guarded. I surrender the doubt that keeps me distant. And I release this cry not to the wind, not to the void, but to you, the one who hears even what is never spoken, the one who answers even the smallest prayer, the one who moves toward me even when I am frozen in place. Let my cry today be more than sound. Let it be a signpost in the spirit. Let it mark the moment when I stopped hiding, when I stopped running, when I stopped pretending and started trusting. Let it be the moment you move again in the wilderness, the moment you stir the dry ground and whisper my name into the silence, the moment you remind me that even here, even now, you are near. I am listening. Even if I hear nothing yet, I am listening. Even if all I hear is my own breath, I am still listening, because I believe your voice still calls out in the desert, and I believe you still respond when someone cries from the wilderness. Let this be the morning you do. Let this be the morning you answer, not with noise, but with presence, not with thunder, but with peace, not with certainty, but with the quiet assurance that you are here. Father, you heard my cry yesterday in the wilderness, and I still feel the echo of that reaching. My voice may have trembled, but you did not turn away. You stayed with me there, in that dry and barren place. And as I sit in this stillness again today, I find myself remembering not just the pain I have carried, but the moments of comfort I have known, the times when you felt near, the seasons when I could sense your presence like warmth on my skin. I remember, in the remembering, something shifts inside of me. Not everything has changed since yesterday. My questions are still present. The weight has not vanished, but in the quiet unfolding of this morning, my heart begins to recall what my mind too easily forgets. You have been here before, with me, for me, through storms, through sorrows, through years I did not think I would survive. You were there not always in the way I asked, but always in the way I needed. And now, I bring those memories to the surface like precious stones I thought I had lost. I remember the moment when I was drowning in anxiety, and peace came like a slow, steady breath I did not expect. I remember the day I felt completely alone, and someone called at just the right time with no idea what I had been praying for. I remember the nights when tears fell in silence, and somehow I woke up with just enough strength to stand again. I did not always recognize it then. But now, in this pause, I see that it was you, quiet, present, faithful. The rain did come before. There were seasons when my soul was soft and open, when joy rose without forcing it, when I could sing without breaking. I remember the sweetness of those moments. I remember what it felt like to believe without fear, to trust without tension, and even if it feels distant now, I will not let those memories be swallowed by the pain. I will hold them up like lanterns. I will speak them out like sacred truth. Because you have not changed. You are the same God who met me then, the same God who walked beside me when I thought I had been abandoned, the same God who carried me through grief I never thought I could survive. You are not limited by time. You are not confined to a single chapter of my life. What you did before, you can do again. What you whispered then, you can speak again. The well that once refreshed me has not run dry. I just need to remember where it flows from. So I remember now. On purpose. I remember the times you made a way. I remember the comfort that came like sunlight through trees. I remember how you took the shattered pieces and slowly began to rebuild. I remember how you stood beside me when everyone else walked away. I remember the small miracles, the unexpected provision, the unseen protection, the inexplicable peace. I remember, and my soul begins to breathe again. Sometimes we forget not because we are faithless, but because the weight of pain presses memory down. Sometimes it takes intention to lift up what is buried beneath sorrow. But I lift it now, Lord. I lift it before you like an offering. I offer you my remembering not as nostalgia, but as fuel for hope, not as a way to escape the present, but as a bridge to believe that you are still moving. Let this remembering awaken trust. Let it stir faith in places that have grown dull. Let it become the rhythm of my heart when fear tries to take over. You have written your fingerprints all over my story. You have woven threads of grace even through chapters I would rather forget. You have never stopped being near, even when I wandered far from noticing. So I choose today to look back, not to grieve, but to build, to gather the testimonies like stones of remembrance, to say to my soul, he was faithful then, and he will be faithful now. Let this be the beginning of renewed trust. Let this be the moment when what felt far begins to feel near again. Let memory become the doorway through which I walk back into communion with you. I do not need a new sign today. I just need the courage to remember what you have already done. Even in the wilderness, rain has come before. Even in my darkest valleys, light has broken through. Even when I could not feel you, I now see the traces of your care. Let this remembering become the sound of new footsteps. Let it be the gentle thunder of coming rain. Let it water the soil of my spirit so that something alive might rise again. Even if it is small, even if it is tender, let it begin. Remind me that the rain is not a one-time gift, but a rhythm of who you are. You send what nourishes in due time. You never forget where your child has been planted. You never leave the roots to dry in silence. You are the God who tends even the unseen, the God who remembers every seed, every prayer, every hidden H. You are not finished, and neither am I. So today, as I begin again, I do not bring a new cry. I bring an old memory, a thread of faith from years past, now woven into the fabric of my morning prayer. Let it hold, let it steady me. Let it become a song rising slow in the dawn. Let it become my reminder that you were, you are, and you will be still the same. I offer you this remembering, not with bitterness, but with awe, because even now, as I breathe in the quiet and exhale the H, I feel something begin to shift. Not everything, not all at once, but something, a soft stirring, a deep knowing, a quiet promise that the same God who brought the rain before will do it again, and again, and again. Let it begin here, in the remembering, in the hush before the rain, in the hope that rises not from what I see, but from what I refuse to forget. You were faithful, you are faithful, and you will not stop now. Father, it is still early, and I am here again. The stillness of this morning feels softer than before, like something has begun to lift. I do not know if it is the remembering, or just your presence resting here, but I sense that something old is loosening its grip. Yesterday, I brought memories of how you moved in the past, how you came through in moments I thought I would be crushed. That remembering stirred something. And today, I feel ready to take the next step. So here I am. Father, sitting with the weight I have carried for longer than I know how to admit, not just pain or disappointment, but layers of silent burden expectations I've put on myself, wounds I never gave words to, guilt I thought I had to manage alone. They have become so familiar, these heavy things. I have learned how to function with them. I have adjusted my posture to accommodate them. But this morning, I feel you gently asking me to lay them down. It is not easy. I do not always know how to let go. Some burdens have settled into the grooves of my soul, like stones that have lived there too long. Others feel tangled in shame, tied to stories I have tried to forget. But I am tired. Father, tired of managing what I was never meant to carry. Tired of pretending I am okay while the weight continues to press. Tired of calling it strength when it is really survival. So I bring them here as honestly as I can. I bring you the fear I have tried to hide behind business, the anxiety I have masked with competence, the grief I have buried under productivity. I bring you the secret places where my trust has worn thin, and the unspoken belief that I have to keep holding it all together or everything will fall apart. I bring you the guilt that whispers I should be further along, more faithful, less broken. I bring you the parts of me I am afraid are too messy to name, and I place them before you not neatly, not perfectly, but honestly. I let the weight fall from my hands. Slowly, one burden at a time. I may reach for them again tomorrow. But today, I release them. Not because I no longer care, because I finally believe that you do. You are not asking me to solve these things. You are asking me to trust you with them. Let this surrender be real. Let it go beyond my words. Let it sink deep into my being, into the places where I have clung so tightly. I am not just laying down the burdens. I am laying down the belief that I have to earn your help. I am laying down the fear that if I stop controlling, everything will collapse. I am laying down the pressure to prove I am strong enough. I am not, and that is not failure. That is why I need you. You are not distant from this moment. You are not a God who waits at a distance for me to fix myself before I come close. You kneel with me here. You see the tremble in my hands and the hesitation in my heart, and still you stay. You do not shame me for the weight I have carried. You simply offer to take it. So I offer it to you in return. Take the bitterness I have harbored toward things I cannot change. Take the disappointment that clings to unanswered prayers. Take the regret over words I can unsay and moments I can undo. Take the comparisons that have stolen my joy. Take the weariness of carrying other people's expectations, and the silent grief of wondering if I am enough. I do not need to understand everything to surrender it. I do not need to resolve it before releasing it. I just need to be willing, and I am. In this quiet moment, I am. If healing starts with honesty, then let this be my starting place. If peace begins with surrender, then let peace begin here. I can feel it. Even now, how my breath softens when I let go. How my shoulders fall when I stop gripping so tightly. This surrender is not dramatic. It is not loud, but it is sacred. And it is real. Let it continue beyond this hour. Let it become the rhythm of how I live. Teach me how to release the things that do not belong in my hands, and to trust that yours are more capable than mine will ever be. I have spent so long thinking I had to do everything right, pray hard enough, perform well enough, believe strong enough to make things change. But now I see that you are not moved by performance. You are moved by presence, by a heart that turns toward you. Even trembling, by a soul that says, I cannot hold this anymore. Will you? So I give you the questions I do not know how to answer. I give you the days when the silence stretches too long. I give you the places where pain has become familiar and hope still feels fragile. And as I surrender, I ask you to do what only you can carry, what I was never designed to hold. This letting go does not mean I do not care. It means I care enough to stop pretending I can fix it. It means I believe that you can be trusted, even when I do not see what you are doing. It means I am choosing faith, not because I feel strong, but because I am tired of holding everything myself. I choose to believe that what you carry is safe, that what I give to you will not be lost, that you are not overwhelmed by what overwhelms me. So here it is, Lord. The weight, the worry, the self-blame, the pressure, the endless loop of thoughts that never seem to rest. I surrender them all. Again and again, if I must. I make no promises of perfection. I only bring willingness. I ask you to meet me here, in this quiet, and receive what I no longer wish to carry. Let my hands be light again. Let my heart breathe deeper. Let my soul unclench from all the striving. Let this be the day I learn that surrender is not defeat. It is worship. It is freedom. It is trust wrapped in honesty. And I trust you. Even now, even in the tension between what I feel and what I hope, I choose to lay it down. I choose to believe that you are enough for what is too much for me. I choose to believe that you will not waste what I release, that you will hold it with tenderness, that you will lead me forward, lighter and freer than I have been in a long time. Let this be the morning when I stop carrying what no longer belongs to me. Let this be the moment when surrender becomes my strength. Let this be the beginning of living open-handed and open-hearted, trusting that you are enough, that you are still good, that you are holding what I have placed into your care. And that is more than enough for today. Father, there is something quiet settling over me this morning. It is not loud, not sudden, not overwhelming, but it is there. A stillness, a tenderness, a sense that after all the surrendering, something sacred has begun to move, not around me, but within me. Yesterday, I laid down what had grown too heavy to bear. I opened my hands and released what I had held for far too long. And now, as I return to this quiet space, I notice the difference. Not everything has changed, but something has. Something subtle. Something holy. It feels like water moving beneath the surface, slow, soft, unseen yet unmistakable. I would not have recognized it before. I would have overlooked it, waiting for something more obvious, more dramatic. But now I see it for what it is. The beginning of refreshment. The gentle flow of your nearness finding its way into dry corners of my soul. I feel it not in my emotions, but in the deep places, in the slowing of my breath, in the release of tension I forgot I was holding. You come like this sometimes. Do not you, not with fire, not with noise, but with water, quiet, steady, patient. You move into the places I surrendered, not with judgment, but with grace. And this morning, I feel the first signs of that grace seeping in, a kind of quiet peace that does not explain everything, but holds me still, a sense that I am not alone here, that I never was. I do not need everything to be solved to feel you. I just need to know that you are here. And this morning, I do, in the way light softens the edges of the sky, in the way my heart does not race like it used to, in the way I sit here with fewer walls around my spirit. This is you, is not it? This is what happens when I make room for you. Not forcefully, not by earning, but by letting go. You come in gently. You do not rush. You do not demand. You simply begin to fill what was once empty. Let this be what healing looks like. Let it be slow. Let it be sacred. Let it be water that seeps in where I thought nothing could live again. I know now that I do not need revival to be loud. I do not need my soul to shout to be alive. Even silence can be holy when it is filled with your presence. Even the smallest movement can mean life is returning. Even gentle waters can break the hardest ground. I used to believe that you only moved in the dramatic, that I had to feel something grand to know you were near. But today, I believe differently. I believe in the quietness of your spirit. I believe in the steady flow of your peace. I believe in the soft voice that does not shake the earth, but softens the heart. And I welcome it. I welcome you. Flow into the places I forgot to invite you. Move gently into the corners I assumed were too stubborn to change. Find the hidden cracks and pour in restoration. Wash over the quiet grief that I never voiced. Soften the places where fear still tries to live. Let your nearness be like water on stone, persistent, patient, unrelenting in kindness. I do not need to rush this. I do not need to figure it all out. If this is how you move, then let me move with you. If this is what healing looks like, then let me receive it fully. If your spirit is coming like a stream, I will not dam it up with doubt. I will let it flow, let it rise, let it soak into every thirsty place. Let this morning be marked not by effort, but by receiving. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply to allow you to love me, not for what I produce, not for how well I pray, but just as I am, in this seat, in this silence, with nothing but an open heart. And today, I choose that. I choose to be loved by you again. I choose to be still. I choose to let peace find me where striving once lived. There is no striving here. No pushing. No proving. Just the quiet movement of your spirit like a stream winding through my soul. I let it carry away the remnants of fear. I let it cleanse the thoughts I do not know how to stop. I let it bring life to what has grown dull. I let it speak without words. Because you are here, and you are enough. You are not waiting for me to perform. You are not asking me to be impressive. You are simply asking me to stay open, to keep returning, to keep choosing this moment with you above everything else that pulls for my attention. And so I do. I return again, and again, and again, and every time I feel the waters rise a little more. Let this flow become my rhythm. Let it move through my days, not just my mornings. Let me walk through each hour with the same openness I bring here. Let your peace meet me in traffic, in conversations, in the quiet moments between tasks. Let this morning not end when I stand up. Let it go with me. Let it carry me. Teach me how to live from this place, to carry this stillness into a world that runs too fast, to speak from the overflow instead of from exhaustion, to act from fullness rather than fear. Let me become someone marked not by stress, but by peace, not by anxiety, but by quiet strength. Let your presence become my source, my anchor, my ever-flowing well. I trust you, Lord, not because I understand everything, but because I know you are near. I feel it now, not in dramatic ways, but in the way I do not feel rushed, in the way my heart rests without demand, in the way I sense that you are not far off, but quietly present. Let this be enough. Let it be more than enough. Flow through me until the edges of my life soften, until the words I speak carry grace, until the thoughts I think are shaped by peace, until the way I move through this world reflects the gentleness of the one who walks with me. Let these gentle waters do what only they can renew. Restore, revive, let them continue their slow, beautiful work. I welcome them. I welcome you, not with noise or pressure, but with open space. This is yours, I am yours, and this quiet moment is a beginning again. A beginning not of striving, but of stillness. Not of shouting, but of surrender. Not of draught, but of flow. So let it rise. Let it continue. Let your presence move in me like water steady. Healing. Alive. Father, this morning, as the quiet waters continue their slow movement through the corners of my soul, I feel something more than peace beginning to rise. It is something deeper, a sense of being held, as if the softness I have begun to feel is not just the absence of weight, but the presence of something stronger than fear, something truer than uncertainty, something more enduring than the storm. And as I sit with this stillness, I find myself whispering your name not out of habit, but because I need to remember who you are. Your name. Father, that is what holds me now, not my strength, not my plans, not even my understanding, just your name, just the sound of it spoken softly into the air of this early morning. The name that has carried me through every season, the name I have called on in both desperation and praise, the name that remains when everything else changes. You are not a distant force. You are not a vague hope. You are not simply an idea. You are a person, a presence, a name. And your name has meaning that stretches farther than I can grasp. You are peace when chaos surrounds me. You are shelter when I am exposed. You are light when the way is unclear. You are provider when I come empty. You are mercy when I come flawed. You are the one who does not change, even when I do. So I speak your name today not as a ritual, but as a lifeline. Not to impress you, but to remind myself who you are. In a world that gives names to every fear of failure, fear of lack, fear of abandonment, I anchor myself in a better name. Your name is my steady ground. It silences the noise. It stills the panic. It gives shape to my prayers when words run dry. Your name reminds me that I do not face this life alone. When I say your name, I am not calling out into the dark. I am calling to the one who already stands beside me. The one who knows my thoughts before I speak them. The one who sees the H behind my smile. The one who watches over me when no one else notices the trembling. You are not startled by my fragility. You are not put off by my weakness. You are not disappointed by my doubt. You are the name that stays. Let your name be my covering today. Let it wrap around me like a quiet defense. Not armor I have to fight with, but shelter I can rest beneath. I do not want to strive anymore. Lord, I do not want to brace myself against the world with my own effort. I want to hide in you, not out of fear, but out of trust, because I believe that the safest place I can stand is not behind walls I have built, but under the shadow of your name. You have so many names, each one revealing something different about you. You are my shepherd, leading me when I cannot find the way. You are my healer, touching the broken places that medicine cannot reach. You are my rock, unmoved by the storms that shake me. You are my refuge, where I go when I can no longer stand on my own. And above all, you are Emmanuel, God with me, not just then, not just later, but here, right now. Your name is not a label, it is a promise. Every name you carry tells me what I can count on. Not maybe, not sometimes, but always. You are who you say you are. Even when my feelings shift, even when my circumstances shake, your character stays. And that gives me rest in the deepest parts of who I am. When I say your name, I am reminded that I am not adrift in this world. I am known. I am seen. I am loved by someone who is steady. There have been days when I have called on you with desperation, and others when I have barely remembered to whisper your name at all. But you have never withdrawn. You have never withheld. You have never turned away. When I said Jesus in the dark, you answered with light. When I said help in the middle of panic, you answered with breath. When I said please in the thick of waiting, you answered with presence. I see that now, maybe not then, but now. So today, I anchor myself in who you are, not in what I feel, not in what I lack, but in you. Let your name become the rhythm of my thoughts. Let it be the quiet prayer I return to again and again. When anxiety stirs, let me speak your name. When old fears rise, let me breathe it out. When the future feels uncertain, let me rest in the certainty of who you are. You are the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And your name is enough. You know me by name. That truth undoes me in the best way. You do not see me as a number, as a project, as a problem to solve. You see me as yours, named, loved, worth knowing, worth pursuing. Even when I forget who I am, you never forget. You remind me not just of who you are, but of who I am when I am held in you. And I need that reminder, especially now, in a world where identity is blurred and voices are loud and expectations are crushing. I need to know that I am not defined by titles or opinions or failures. I am defined by your name, the one I belong to, the one I cry out to, the one who speaks peace to the storm, not just around me, but within me. Let your name be my quiet confidence today. Let it rise like a song beneath every anxious thought. Let it root me in truth when emotions try to carry me elsewhere. Let it be the thread that ties my morning to you. I do not need to perform for you. I do not need to say everything right. I simply need to remember who you are and speak that truth into the spaces where I have forgotten. You are the name that holds me when I cannot hold myself together. You are the one who surrounds me when everything feels uncertain. You are the one who cannot be shaken. And when my strength runs out, you are the one whose strength never does. So I will lean on your name today, not as an afterthought, but as my foundation, not as a last resort, but as my first breath. This morning, I speak your name not to get your attention, but to give you mine, I speak it to remind my soul of what is true, that I am not alone, that I am not forgotten, that I am loved by the God who names galaxies and also names me. I will let that truth settle into every part of me, like the quiet waters that still flow from yesterday's surrender. And as I speak your name again and again, I will rest in knowing that you are already here, already holding me, already enough. Father, it is still your name I hold on to this morning. Just yesterday, it wrapped around my breath like a quiet shelter. And today, I come again tender, raw, not quite strong, but honest, because something within me has shifted after whispering your name long enough. I have started noticing the cracks I once tried to cover, the places where I fall short, the limitations I want to escape, and instead of rushing past them, I feel you asking me to stay, not to fix them, not to fight them, but to let them be part of the way you meet me. You meet me in my weakness. Father, that is the hardest place to let you enter, and yet the one you choose most often. When I run out of answers, you do not scold. When my courage thins, you do not retreat. When I finally admit I am not enough, you do not require more. You lean in. You hold steady. You whisper truth not to shame me, but to stay with me. And somehow, in that fragile moment, I begin to realize that weakness is not failure. It is invitation. I always thought strength meant rising, conquering, holding everything together without letting anyone see the strain. But I am beginning to learn that your strength comes in a different shape. It does not puff itself up or parade as invincible. It kneels. It stoops low. It shows up in the middle of tears, not after they are dried. It holds without hurrying. And more than anything, it tells me I do not have to pretend anymore. Let me stop pretending. Father, not just in front of others, but in front of myself. I want to be okay with needing you, not as a backup plan, not as a crutch, but as my only real source. I want to stop measuring my worth by what I can carry. I want to let go of the lie that being overwhelmed makes me weak, because maybe being overwhelmed is the first step toward being held. Maybe it is not weakness that blocks the path, it is pride. And maybe what you have been waiting for all along is my willingness to open that locked door and let you in. So I come today with nothing polished, nothing filtered, just the truth. I feel small sometimes and unsure. I try to be brave, but my fears still speak loudly. I want to trust, but the unknown still stirs a quiet panic in my chest. I say, you are enough, but then reach for control again when the ground shifts. And still, you come. You never ask me to meet you in perfection. You ask me to meet you in honesty. And you promise to meet me there every time. You are not uncomfortable with my need. You are not irritated by my mess. You are not waiting for me to grow up before you hold me. You are the God who came close, even when I was hiding in shame. The God who sat beside broken people and called them blessed. The God who did not flinch at tears, who did not reject doubters, who did not demand strength before giving grace. You are not afraid of weakness, because you know it is where love speaks loudest. Let me rest in that love today, not earn it, not perform for it. Just let it be true. Let it wash over my weary parts. Let it quiet the self-judgment I have carried too long. Let it be louder than the voice that says, I am too much or not enough. Let it settle into the places I have kept hidden, the stories I have told myself in secret, the comparisons that leave me empty. Your love does not wait until I am stronger. It meets me exactly where I am. And where I am, Lord, is tired, not in a dramatic way, just that quiet kind of tired that builds from carrying things no one sees. The questions that circle, the responsibilities I do not want to drop, the roles I try to fill, the weight of wondering if I am doing enough. Being enough? Becoming enough. It sits heavy some mornings, even as the world begins to stir. But here's the miracle. I do not have to carry it alone. You say, come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. I take that invitation seriously now, not just as a verse to memorize, but a life to live. If you are not asking me to prove myself, then I can stop trying. If you are not impressed by my performance, then I can stop pretending. If you are the God who meets me in my lowest, then I do not have to keep climbing just to find you. I can collapse into you and know that I am still seen, still known, still loved. This kind of love unravels me, not because it is unfamiliar, but because it is so opposite from what the world often demands. The world rewards grit and hides the groan. It celebrates self-sufficiency and shames need. But you, Father, move in reverse. You say that the poor in spirit are blessed, that the meek inherit the earth, that those who mourn will be comforted. You turn everything upside down so that grace can flow right side up into the cracks we have been told to seal. I do not want to seal them anymore. I want to let your light come through the places that leak. I want to stop treating weakness like a flaw and start treating it like a doorway, not to collapse, but to communion, not to shame, but to shelter. If this is the path you walked, then let me walk it too slow, low, honest. Let my limp be the place you lean into. Let my frailty be the soil where your beauty grows. You are not impressed by strength that pushes you away. You are moved by the kind that leans in. And so, I lean in today not with answers, but with openness, not with resolve, but with reverence. You are enough, even when I am not. You are stable, even when I shake. You are gentle, even when I am hard on myself, and you are good, even when the world around me feels unclear. So I stop striving, I stop comparing, I stop hiding. I let my weakness breathe in your presence, not as a defeat, but as a beginning. The beginning of deeper trust, the beginning of daily surrender, the beginning of grace becoming not just what I believe in, but what I actually live by. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. This is how I want to walk into today unarmored, unfiltered, undone by love that does not demand strength, but becomes it. And in my weakness, I will not shrink. I will rest. I will rise slowly. I will remember that you are the one who carries me, and you have never dropped what you love. Father, there is something quiet stirring in me this morning. Not bold, not loud, but alive. Maybe it began yesterday. In that moment, I gave up the need to be strong and let you carry what I could not. Maybe something deeper shifted when I allowed myself to be small and discovered you were still big enough to hold it all. But now, in this early light, there is a softness I did not expect, like the ground has shifted beneath my questions, and in their place, a gentle wonder is returning. It has been a long time, has not it, since I paused not just to ask you for help, but to let awe rise within me. Life has moved so fast, and I have tried to keep up, measuring days by tasks and time, checking off duties and chasing clarity. I forgot what it was like to be surprised by beauty, to notice light as it dances through trees, or to marvel at the way breath still enters my body each morning without permission. But today, Father, I want to begin again. I want to come back to wonder, and not the polished kind wonder wrapped in perfect words or curated images. I mean the raw wonder, the wonder that gasps at a sunrise, that gets quiet in the face of mystery, that lets go of needing every answer in exchange for the joy of simply being part of something far beyond myself. That kind of wonder feels like coming home, even when I never realized I had wandered. I wandered when I tried to explain away everything sacred. I wandered when I forgot that you created not just the stars, but the laughter of children and the hush of snow. I wandered when I rushed past moments meant to be savored. And maybe I even wandered when I thought I had to understand you in order to be near you. But you never stopped reaching, never stopped inviting. Even when my eyes dulled and my heart grew tired, you still painted skies. You still scattered grace like morning dew. And now, Father, I am noticing it again, the way your presence hides in ordinary things. The way wonder is not something I have to chase, but something I can allow. Wonder lives in stillness, and I am learning to slow down enough to see it. It waits beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the surface of all I thought I had to figure out before I could be fully alive. There is something sacred about being awake not just to my pain or my needs, but to beauty, to the unexpected places where you show up not as instruction, but as invitation. When you are not only the one who rescues, but the one who romances, the one who calls me to see not just survive, to behold not just believe. That is what I long for now. Father, to walk through this day with eyes wide open, not distracted, not afraid, just alive to wonder again. Let me notice you in the small today, in the sound of leaves brushing the window, in the quiet between conversations, in the breath I almost forget to feel. Remind me that every second holds something sacred when I stop to look, that nothing is too ordinary to become holy if you are near. And you are always near, are not you, not just in cathedrals or mountain peaks, but in street corners and washing dishes and the pause between heartbeats. You are not just the God of mighty miracles, you are the God of quiet mercies. And I want to see you in both. I want to let the world surprise me again, not because it is easy, but because it is good, because even in all its ache and tension, beauty still dares to bloom. And maybe that is the real miracle, not that life is perfect, but that in the middle of its mess, you still give glimpses of heaven, a soft breeze that cools, a song that stirs something hidden, a kind word offered at just the right time. These are not accidents. They are love notes, and I want to read every one of them. Teach me to live wide-eyed again, to expect joy without bracing for it to disappear, to hold delight without guilt, to trust that wonder is not naive, but necessary. It keeps my heart soft. It keeps my soul young. It reminds me that not everything has to be solved. Some things are simply meant to be received. Let me receive this day as a gift, Father, not a puzzle, not a test, just a gift. Let me unwrap it slowly. Let me walk through it without rushing to the next thing. Let my hands be open, not just to carry, but to feel. Let my feet be grounded, not just to move, but to notice where I stand. Let my heart be tender enough to be touched, even by things I have seen 1,000 times before, because even the familiar becomes new when seen through the lens of wonder. And maybe that is how you see me, too. Not with boredom, not with impatience, but with wonder, with joy, with a love that never tires of calling me beloved. Maybe that is the greatest invitation, to see myself as you do, not as broken parts or constant questions, but as someone fearfully, wonderfully made, someone who still carries your image, even in the places she forgot to look, someone who is not just known but delighted in. Let me live like that is true. Let me believe that your joy is not just a concept, but a presence, not just for Sunday mornings, but for every common hour. Let it sink into my bones that I do not have to earn awe. I simply have to stay soft enough to feel it. And when pain comes again, as I know it will when the headlines scream and the days blur and the H returns, let wonder be the resistance. Let it be the defiant choice to see beauty anyway, to believe in good, to marvel at mercy. Let it hold me steady when everything else feels uncertain, because where wonder lives, gratitude follows. And where gratitude lives, hope grows roots. So I stand in this quiet place, Father, not because I have arrived, but because I have begun again. I have remembered that I do not need to understand everything to be at peace. I just need to stay awake to you. And when I do, I see it, the thread of your grace running through it all. Invisible sometimes, but strong enough to pull me back when I forget. Today, let that thread tug at my soul gently. Let it draw me closer to beauty. Let it whisper through the mundane and remind me that you are still here. Still writing. Still singing. Still creating. And if you are still doing all of that, then I am still invited. Still welcome. Still part of the unfolding story. Let me never grow too busy to wonder. Let me never become so cautious that I forget to be amazed. Let the world stay wild and wide in my heart. Let my soul stay curious. Let the hush of your presence always be louder than the noise of my fears. Let this be the day wonder returns and stays. Father, even now, as I whisper these words into the hush of morning, I still feel the residue of yesterday's wonder resting quietly in my chest, like dew that has not yet burned off with the rising sun. It lingers, a soft awareness that you are near, that beauty is not gone, that something holy has begun to awaken again in the ordinary. And yet, Father, as I return to this place with you, I realize that wonder alone is not enough to carry me through the weight of life. I need peace, to not just the fleeting kind that visits in calm moments, but the deep, abiding peace that stays when life is not calm at all. So today, I come to you not only with eyes wide open, but with hands open too, asking for what I cannot manufacture, peace that surpasses what makes sense. Peace not as the world gives, but as only you can give. And I do not ask for it as a sudden burst or a perfect feeling, but as a slow unfolding, a path beneath my feet, a steadying truth that quiets my soul even while questions still remain. Father, I have spent so many days chasing peace like it is something to catch. I have tried to earn it by doing better, fixing faster, solving louder. I have tried to reason my way into calm, only to find myself more tangled in thought. But I am learning that peace does not come through striving, it comes through surrender. It grows not in pressure but in presence, not in knowing more, but in trusting you with what I already know, and even more with what I do not. I need that kind of peace, Father, the kind that anchors me when waves rise and the shore disappears. The kind that steadies my hands when I do not know what tomorrow will bring. The kind that reminds me I am not in control. And that is not a punishment, but a mercy. Because peace does not ask me to be in charge. It invites me to rest in the one who already is. And so, I lay before you all the pieces I have tried to hold together on my own. The plans I keep gripping tightly, the regrets I revisit in silence, the future I keep rehearsing before it is even arrived. I place them all at your feet, not because I have solved them, but because I am tired of trying to carry what I was never meant to hold alone. I release the need to figure everything out today. I choose, instead, to walk the slow path to peace. Help me to see peace not as a destination, but as a companion. One that walks with me through this very moment. One that does not require me to feel perfect, but simply present. One that knows how to sit with grief and with joy, with uncertainty and with hope, without rushing to erase any of them. Peace is not the absence of emotion, it is the grounding of my soul in you, even while emotion swells. Father, teach me how to return to peace when I stray, when I get pulled into the noise of comparison, into the grip of fear, into the pressure of performance, when I forget who I am and try to become what others expect. When my worth feels tied to results or reputation, or how well I hide my exhaustion, bring me back, gently, to that still place where peace speaks in quiet tones and says, "You are already loved. You are already held. Let that be the soil my day grows from, not anxiety, not hurry, not noise, but peace. Let it shape how I respond to others, how I carry disappointment, how I listen, how I breathe. Let it change the way I walk through ordinary moments, not with tension, but with trust. Trust that you are not just ahead of me, you are beside me, that I do not walk toward peace. I walk with peace, because I walk with you. Even now, I feel it settled deeper, this invitation to exhale, to unclench, to be. I do not need to rush this morning, even if the world around me is rushing. I do not need to force clarity, even if questions still echo. I do not need to perform calmness. I can be honest and still be whole. And maybe that is the beginning of real peace. Not perfection, not answers, just honesty in your presence, and the quiet knowing that you are enough for this moment and the next. I remember now that you never promised a life free of storms. You promised presence within them, and presence is what calms, not because it fixes every wave, but because it reminds me that I am not alone in the boat. That you, the one who commands the wind, also sit with me when I tremble. And sometimes peace is not the storm stopping. Sometimes it is me resting even while the waves still rise. Let that kind of peace live in me today. Let it be the pause between my words, the warmth behind my smile, the softness in how I speak to myself. Let it shape the pace of my day, not frantic, not forceful, but gentle. Let it guide my decisions, not from fear of what might go wrong, but from trust in what is already right. Let it be what carries me when I grow weary, and what welcomes me when I return to you, breathless from running in circles you never asked me to run. I do not want to just talk about peace. I want to embody it. I want to be someone who carries it with me, like a quiet song beneath the surface, heard only by those close enough to feel its rhythm. I want to be the kind of person who brings peace to rooms, not because I have all the answers, but because I trust the one who does. I want to live from a heart that knows how to be still, even in motion, to be steady even in change, to be rooted, even as the seasons shift around me. Father, thank you that peace is not a prize for the perfect, but a gift for the willing, for those who choose to pause, to breathe, to believe that even here, in the in-between, you are near, that even here, in the quiet ache of waiting or the slow healing of wounds, peace is possible not because of my effort, but because of your presence. Let me feel that truth rise today, not as a rush, but as a slow, steady light, not as a firework, but as a candle, not as a flood, but as a gentle stream winding its way back to center. Let it keep me anchored when the day demands more than I feel I have. Let it whisper to me when I begin to forget who I am. Let it hold me close when I feel far from myself. Let peace not be an escape from reality, but the way I engage with it. This is the path I choose today, not the path of panic, not the path of pressure, but the slow path to peace, one step at a time, one breath at a time, one prayer at a time. And in each of those small movements, I find you again, not just watching from afar, but walking right beside me, closer than breath, closer than thought, always near, always enough. Let that be enough for today. Let that be peace. Father, even as I sit here this morning, breathing slowly in the hush that follows yesterday's quiet walk toward peace, I can feel how fragile that peace can seem when life comes rushing back in. It does not take much: a headline, a memory, an unexpected turn for that slow path to tremble beneath my feet. And so I return to you again, not because I failed, because I remember now that peace was never something I was meant to carry alone. You never asked me to be strong in isolation. You invited me into refuge. Father, you are not just a comfort. You are my fortress, a place I can run to, not only when I am afraid, but also when I am simply tired of pretending I am not. You are my shelter when the winds of doubt rise, when the weight of decisions grows too heavy, when the ache of being human wears thin the surface of my resolve. You are not far off, watching from a safe distance. You are the one who opens the gate before I even reach for it, who steadies the walls around me not to trap me in, but to keep fear out. And maybe that is what I have been needing more than I admitted. Not a way forward, not even a solution, just a place to rest inside what is unchanging, because the world keeps spinning faster, demanding more, expecting me to catch up. But you, Father, remain unmoving, unshaken, always open. You do not rush me. You do not push me to perform. You simply welcome me worn, anxious, uncertain, and say, "Stay here for a while." So I do. I sit in this space where the world cannot touch me, not because I have shut it out, but because I have let you in. And the more I open the doors of my heart to you, the more I realize how deeply I need this refuge, not just occasionally, not just in emergencies, but every single day. I need a rhythm of return, a habit of hiding in you, not to escape, but to be reminded of what is real. Inside this fortress, I remember who I am, not the labels I wear, not the achievements or failures I carry, not the roles I juggle or the expectations I try to fulfill. Here, I am simply yours, not required to be anything else. And in this stillness, my soul breathes again. I do not have to guard myself here. You are already guarding me. I do not have to defend my choices or justify my confusion. You know the truth of me, and still you stay. And it makes me wonder how many times I have walked past this refuge, choosing instead to stand outside in the storm, thinking I needed to prove something, thinking I was stronger if I could endure the wind, but strength was never the point. Surrender was. Trust was. You have always been the safe place, even when I was too busy striving to notice. You have always been here, waiting not for my perfection, but for my honesty. So today, I bring you what is raw, the part of me that still aches, the part that is unsure, the part that does not want to admit it is scared. And instead of trying to fix it, I let it be seen. I let you hold it. I let you hold me, because that is what refuge means, not a place to hide from my life, but a place to remember I am not facing it alone. In this space, I find room to grieve the things I have not processed, to feel the disappointment that has lingered quietly beneath the surface, to name the fears I have dressed up in logic and distraction. And even more than that, I find permission to not rush through them. You are not afraid of my mess. You are not impatient with my healing. You do not see me as broken glass to be glued together, but as beloved dust you breathe new life into gently, daily, faithfully. Let this morning be a moment of rebuilding. Father, brick by brick, memory by memory, may you lay a foundation of truth that steadies me when I walk out again into the world. Let your words be the mortar that holds the walls of this fortress around my heart, strong but not cold, safe but not shut down, open to love but shielded from lies. And above all, let your presence be the door I always return to. I think of how many others walk through this day without knowing there is a refuge like this. How many are carrying invisible loads with nowhere to lay them down? I do not want to take this grace for granted. Let this sanctuary not be selfish. Let it grow in me a tenderness for others, for the anxious, the exhausted, the overlooked. Let me be, even in small ways, a reflection of this refuge for someone else. A quiet voice that says, "You do not have to keep running. There is a place for you to rest." Father, be my fortress not only in hardship, but in the middle of routine. Be the stronghold I anchor to in the simple hours, not just the dramatic ones. Let refuge become my posture, not just my emergency. Let me carry its strength with me as I navigate every conversation, every conflict, every moment I feel exposed or unseen. Let me remember that no matter how the world shifts, your walls of love do not crumble. They are not built on fear. They are not made of control. They are formed by grace and held together by mercy. So I rise slowly from this quiet space, not because I am in a hurry to leave, but because I know I carry it with me. This refuge is not locked behind a door or found only in silence. It travels with me, hidden within trust, anchored in truth, sustained by your faithfulness. Wherever I go, you are my shelter. Even when the world feels unsafe, even when I feel exposed, even when I lose sight of stability, you remain. Let that assurance sink deep. Let it rise within me when anxiety climbs high. Let it steady me when uncertainty shakes the ground. Let it whisper through my day like a quiet vow. You are not alone. You are not unprotected. You are not forgotten. Let me return to that truth as often as I breathe. Let it be the song I hum when words run out, the echo I hear in the space between tasks, the warmth I feel when I pause for just one sacred moment and remember I already inside the fortress. I am already safe. And maybe that is what I needed most, not the answer, not the solution. Just the safety of being seen, known, and held. Just the comfort of resting in something stronger than myself. Just the freedom to exhale and still be held together. And here, in this sacred hush, I let go again. I lean in again. I remember again. This is refuge. This is strength. This is home. Father, even now, as I rise from the stillness of your refuge, I find myself hesitating at the edge. There is a quiet tremble in my heart, not of fear, but of unfamiliarity. It is not easy to remain held. I am learning, slowly, that trusting your shelter is one thing, but allowing myself to be held by you is something deeper. It is not just about believing you are near. It is about softening into your nearness without bracing, without resisting, without needing to prove I can stand on my own again. Father, you know how long I have carried the belief that being strong means standing alone. That resilience looks like pushing through, fixing it myself, pulling it together before anyone notices. But you are undoing that quietly, kindly, like peeling away layers of armor did not even realize I wore. And under it all, what you reveal is not weakness, it is the tender shape of someone who longs to be held, not out of desperation, but out of trust. The truth is, being held requires something far more vulnerable than standing tall. It requires stillness. It requires surrender. And maybe most of all, it requires belief that I am worthy of being held in the first place. So much of me has learned to flinch when care comes close, to prepare for it to disappear, to assume it will cost me something. But you are not that kind of presence. You hold without expectation. You embrace without condition. You draw near not to fix me, but to be with me. And this morning, I need that nearness more than answers. I need your arms around the parts of me that still feel unsure. The parts that have forgotten how to rest without guilt. I do not want to rush past this holy invitation just to get back to doing. I want to stay here, in the gentle weight of being known and loved. I want to relearn what it means to be small without shame, dependent without fear, supported without feeling like a burden. Because you, Father, do not see me as too much. You do not sigh at my tears or tire of my needs. You do not grow impatient when I come again with the same ache in my chest or the same prayer in my mouth. You receive me as I am again and again, and you hold me not like a duty, but like a joy. I forget that sometimes. I forget that love like yours is not based on performance. It does not waver when I am tired. It does not fade when I am quiet. It does not shift when I am lost in thought or tangled in doubt. And so, in this moment, I pause the striving. I let my heart lean fully into yours, not as a guest, but as a child returning home. I stop explaining. Stop apologizing. Stop trying to make sense of the mess. I just breathe and let myself be held. Not in the way the world teaches, where holding means being caught in something weak, but in the way you mean it, as an embrace that speaks dignity, comfort, and unwavering presence. There is something sacred here, something I have missed in the noise of trying to be okay all the time. There is healing in the hush, restoration in the resting, and in the quiet grip of your grace, I begin to believe that being held is not a pause in the journey, it is the journey. It is where I become whole, where I am rebuilt from the inside out, where I remember who I have always been beneath the layers of effort and expectation. Father, help me unlearn what the world has taught about independence. Teach me that letting go is not failure, that asking for help is not weakness, that leaning in does not mean I am falling apart. It means I trust that you will hold all the pieces even when I do not understand them. And when I forget again, because I will, remind me gently. Pull me back to this space. Let your love be the pattern I return to until it becomes my rhythm. Let me carry the memory of this morning with me through the day, not as an escape, but as an anchor. Let me feel your presence in the small moments, the deep breath before a difficult task, the quiet between conversations, the moment my shoulders drop and I realize I do not have to carry the weight alone. Let your holding become the quiet hum beneath all I do not always notice, but always there. Even in the middle of business, let my soul stay curled close to yours. Let your nearness dissolve my fear of being too much or not enough. Let your arms speak what words cannot. You are safe here. You are loved here. You are not required to fix yourself before I draw near. And if I begin to drift again into old habits of self-sufficiency, draw me back not with force, but with tenderness, with the same mercy that has met me every single morning. I have shown up with empty hands. There is something indescribably holy about being held by you. It silences the lies that shame whispers, untangles the knots I did not realize I had tied. It loosens the grip of control I have tried so hard to maintain. And slowly, gently, it teaches me that I do not have to live clenched. I can live open. I can walk gently. I can love freely, not because I am fearless, but because I am held. So let today be marked not by my striving, but by my surrender. Not by how much I accomplish, but by how deeply I stay connected to you. Let every interaction be touched by the softness I have found here. Let every decision be guided by the clarity that comes from being loved. Not pressured. Let every challenge be approached not from a place of isolation, but from the quiet confidence of one who knows they are not alone. Father, I do not want to forget this. I do not want to go back to pretending I am unshakable. I want to remember what it feels like to be held, to let that remembrance become a steady rhythm, not just a rare reprieve. I want to grow more fluent in trust, more comfortable in quiet, more at ease in your arms than in my own effort. Let this be the shape of my heart, not guarded, but grounded, not tense, but tender, not closed off, but carried. And if I meet someone today who has forgotten how to be held, let me become an echo of your kindness. Let me speak gently. Let me listen with patience. Let me become a space of safety, not because I have the answers, because I have learned how to rest in the arms of the one who does. Let the way I live reflect the peace I have found here, not perfection, but presence. Not certainty, but surrender. I am learning, slowly, quietly, gratefully. And in this sacred unfolding, I realize again what I almost forgot. I am not just allowed to be held, I was made for it, made to rest, made to trust, made to find wholeness not in standing alone, but in being deeply, fully, forever held by you. Father, you have taught me to be held, and in that sacred stillness, something else is surfacing, something deeper, something aching. As I lean further into your embrace, I realize there are things clinging to me that cannot stay if I want to remain here. The longer I sit with you, the more aware I become of the pain I have carried, not just the wounds, but the weight I have added to them. The shame, the silence, the stories I have told myself to survive. Now, in this quiet space between your love and my longing, I know it is time to begin letting go. Letting go is not simple. Father, it is not a decision I make once and walk away from. It is a slow loosening, an unfolding that happens layer by layer. There are hurts I have held for so long they have become part of my identity, griefs I have buried so deep I forget they are still shaping how I move through the world. But you are not asking me to rip them out. You are inviting me to release them. Gently. Intentionally, like setting down a heavy bag I have carried across too many miles. You know what they are. You were there when they formed. When the words were spoken, the trust was broken. The silence settled in like fog. You saw the moments I swallowed my voice, the nights I wept quietly into the pillow, the days I smiled while something cracked inside. I did not hide them from you, even if I did not know how to offer them. But now I feel you reaching, not to pry, not to push, but to receive. Father, help me let go of what still stings when no one is looking. Help me name the pain, not to relive it, but to disarm it. Give me the courage to look at the memories I have avoided, not to dwell, but to reclaim the pieces of me still stuck inside them. Teach me to grieve the losses I never gave myself permission to mourn. And in the letting go, let there be healing, not the kind that demands forgetting, but the kind that transforms the way the story is held. Because holding on to hurt has a way of shaping everything. It alters the way I trust, the way I hope, the way I let others close. And I do not want to live protected by pain anymore. I want to live open. I want to live soft. I want to live with hands that do not cling to past wounds, but are ready to receive present grace. So take the bitterness, the resentment, the old fears dressed as wisdom. Take the armor I forged in the fires of disappointment. Take the narratives that tell me healing is impossible. I know this process is not clean or easy. Some days I will resist, not because I want to hold on to the pain, but because it is familiar. It has become a strange comfort, something I know how to manage. But comfort rooted in pain is not comfort at all. And you are not a father who lets his children settle for less than full freedom. You are patient with my timing, but you are persistent with your love. You do not rush me, but you do not stop inviting me forward either. So I begin here. With honesty, I begin with the memories I have stored away, the names I still whisper with a mix of ache and anger, the parts of my story I try to skip when I speak it out loud. I hold them in my hands, not clenched, but offered. I do not know exactly how to let them go, but I know I do not want to hold them alone anymore. I place them in your hands, the safest hands I know, and I ask for grace to fill the spaces those hurts occupied. Not just the absence of pain, but the presence of peace. Not just silence where the cries once were, but song. Not just survival, but restoration. Let forgiveness rise, not because what happened was okay, but because I do not want it to define me anymore. Let release come not as forgetting, but as freedom. Father, teach me to feel deeply without being ruled by the feeling. Teach me to name what hurts without making it my identity. Let me learn the art of grieving in your presence, not rushed. not dismissed, but embraced and slowly, surely transformed. And as I let go, let your hands be the ones that hold what is too much for mine. Let your voice speak a better word over the echoes that still haunt me. Some of this pain has become part of my habits. I catch myself anticipating disappointment, preparing for rejection, flinching even when nothing threatens me. But you, Father, are not like those who hurt me. You do not abandon. You do not wound to teach a lesson. You do not manipulate love to gain control. You are steady, kind, and fiercely for me. And as I soak in that truth, the old lies begin to lose their grip. Let today be a day of release, maybe not all at once, but enough to breathe easier. Enough to notice the light breaking through the cracks. Enough to feel something new growing where the pain once ruled. Enough to begin again not with denial, but with deliberate trust. Let me believe that healing is not a betrayal of what hurt, but a holy declaration that pain does not have the final word. And Father, as I learn to let go of what hurts, let me also let go of what hides the hurt, my defensiveness, my need to explain, my habit of minimizing. Let me be honest. Let me be soft. Let me be free. And if someone crosses my path today carrying pain of their own, let me be gentle with them too. Let me offer what you have offered me, a place to set it down, a presence that does not rush, a love that holds without pressure. I do not want to be ruled by old wounds. I do not want to respond from a place of protection, but from a place of peace. I want the way I love to be shaped by grace, not by fear. I want the way I speak to carry healing, not control. I want my posture toward the world to mirror yours. Open hands, soft eyes, a heart that chooses compassion even when it is hard. So here, now, I let go. Not perfectly, not all at once. But truly, I loosen my grip on what no longer serves me, what no longer speaks truth, what no longer leads to life. And I let something new rise in its place, something lighter, truer, more whole. I let go of what hurts, not to forget, but to make space for joy, for trust, for you. And in this space, as the H fades into hush, I feel something unexpected. Relief. Not the kind that comes from escape, but the kind that comes from surrender, from release, from finally admitting that the pain does not need to be my companion anymore, that I can carry the memory without carrying the wound, that I can walk forward not with scars as shields, but with softness as strength. Let it be so today. Let this be the beginning of a life unburdened. Let my steps be lighter, my words be kinder, my heart be more open than I thought it could be. Let the past lose its grip and grace take its place. Quietly, faithfully, like morning light seeping into the corners I once kept closed. Father, now that I have begun letting go of what hurts, I find myself in unfamiliar territory. There is a quiet that follows the release, a kind of sacred stillness. It is not empty, but is different. The noise of pain, the weight of carrying it, The habits of tension and resistance, they have grown quiet. And in their absence, I am learning how to be here with you without reaching, fixing, defending, or running. This stillness feels holy, but also strange. You know how much of my life has been defined by motion, by the next task, the next worry, the next way to earn worth. Even in my healing, I tried to work. I treated surrender like a step to accomplish. But now that I have laid down the burdens, I am faced with something I rarely make space for. Being, not doing, not proving, just being. And Father, I do not quite know how to settle into that without feeling like I should be doing more. But maybe this stillness is the deepest act of trust. Maybe being here, fully present with you, not striving or scrambling, is itself a surrender. Not just surrendering what hurts, but surrendering the belief that my value is measured by motion. That peace must be earned. That love must be maintained through performance. You are not asking me to do more. You are asking me to rest, not as a reward, but as a return. This stillness does not ask anything from me. It does not push or pull. It just is. And in its gentle presence, I begin to feel what I had not noticed before, the undercurrent of grace that has always been there. I feel the soft pulse of peace rising where anxiety used to live. I feel breath expanding in places I kept tight. I feel warmth where coldness had numbed me. Not dramatic, not loud, just steady, quiet, true. I know this is a fragile space. Father, stillness can feel unsafe when I am used to chaos. Silence can feel threatening when I am used to noise filling the gaps. But I do not want to run back to what is familiar just because it is loud. I want to stay here with you, in this quiet that does not demand but welcomes. That does not judge but holds. That does not rush but waits. I have spent so much of my life preparing for rejection, for disappointment, for the next thing to go wrong. And now, without those defenses in place, I feel exposed. But you are not danger. You are not like the people or patterns that taught me to brace myself. In your stillness, I am not forgotten. I am found. I am not overlooked. I am seen. I am not idle. I am loved. There is a tenderness in this place that I almost missed. Not the softness that comes from fragility, but the strength that comes from choosing peace even when I do not fully understand it. It takes courage to rest when everything in me has been trained to keep moving. It takes trust to be still when I have been told stillness means failure. But you are showing me a different truth. In this stillness, I hear whispers I could not before, gentle reminders of who I am when I am not trying to be anything else. I hear the voice of compassion telling me, I do not have to earn what you have already given. I hear the echoes of old wounds losing their volume. I hear the rhythm of my own heartbeat matching the pace of grace. And I start to wonder if this is what healing looks like, not a finish line, not a breakthrough, but a quiet morning where I do not flinch. A moment when I do not have to explain myself to feel worthy. A space where I can breathe without bracing. a stillness where I can simply exist without fear of being too much or not enough. Father, teach me how to remain in this stillness, not to escape life, but to anchor in it. Teach me how to return to this posture, even in the middle of noise, even in the swirl of demands. Let this stillness become a well I draw from, not a rare refuge I only stumble into when everything else falls apart. Let it be a part of me, this quiet assurance that I am held even when nothing is happening. There is something honest that happens here. Without the distractions, I see more clearly. Not everything is pretty. Some things rise in the quiet that I would rather keep buried. But even then, you stay. You do not leave when the silence makes room for what is hard. You do not pull away when grief or fear or doubt comes into the light. You sit with me. You stay with me. You whisper peace even there. And I am learning that surrender is not just the act of letting go. It is the willingness to stay present in what follows, to not rush into the next distraction, to not fill the space with noise, to let healing settle, slowly, deeply, into places that were once restless, to trust that your presence is not dependent on my productivity, that I do not have to do anything impressive for you to delight in me. Stillness is not emptiness. It is presence. It is knowing that I do not carry the world, and I do not have to carry myself alone either. It is returning again and again to the simple truth that I am not the one who holds all things together. You do, and you do not grow weary. You do not lose track. You do not forget what I need before I even ask. So I rest, not because everything is perfect, but because you are. I breathe, not because the world is calm, but because your peace reaches deeper than the chaos. I stay in this moment not to escape, but to remember what is true. That love is not earned. That healing is not rushed. That I can be still and still be safe. Let this stillness shape how I move today. Let it slow my reactions, soften my words, anchor my thoughts. Let it make me gentler with others and gentler with myself. Let it remind me that I am not behind. I am not late. I am not failing. I am simply here, and that is enough. With you, here is always enough. Even as the day begins to ask for my attention, let this stillness stay with me. Let it live in my breath, in my tone, in the pauses I choose before I speak. Let it walk with me into rooms where tension used to lead. Let it steady my hands when I want to control. Let it fill the spaces where I used to push or perform. And when I feel the old urge to move too quickly, to fix what is not mine to fix, to force what needs time, let this stillness draw me back, not to stop, but to remember that love is not loud, that peace does not shout, that sometimes the holiest thing I can do is to be still and know that you are God and I am not. Let this truth linger as gently as the first light on the edge of dawn, quiet but undeniable. Let it rise in me like a hush that hums with meaning. Let it be the place I begin and return to, over and over, no matter where the day leads. And in this stillness, held by the one who needs nothing from me, but wants everything good for me, I find that I am not waiting for something else. I am already here. I am already enough. I am already home. Father, as I continue sitting in the stillness with you, I begin to sense something deeper awakening beneath the quiet, something not loud, not commanding, but steady. It is not the kind of strength the world glorifies, the kind built on dominance or speed. It is softer than that, and yet more enduring. It is grace, your grace, and it does not come crashing in. It arrives like breath, like a hand resting gently on a weary shoulder, like light slowly revealing what has always been there. I used to think strength meant having no need, no weakness, no trembling. I thought it meant holding it together, being the steady one, managing emotions with a straight face and a quiet nod. But that image of strength was built on fear, fear of falling apart, fear of being seen too closely, fear that if I let go, I would not be able to put myself back together. So I held on to pride, to self-sufficiency, to masks. But here in this stillness, as I stop gripping the edges of myself so tightly, I find you are not asking for performance. You are offering presence. You are not waiting for me to be impressive. You are inviting me to be honest. And that is where grace meets me, not at my strongest, but at my softest. Not in the moments where I appear most capable, but in the places where I finally stop pretending. Grace does not shout. It does not demand a response. It does not insist on perfection. It simply arrives, again and again, without needing to be deserved. It reminds me that love is not withheld until I meet a standard, that mercy does not run out, that your heart is not moved by my effort, but by your own unchanging nature. And I find that grace is not just something you offer in moments of failure. It is not the thing I reach for only when I have messed up. It is the foundation I have needed all along, the gentle strength that allows me to live without fear of failing. Grace gives me room to breathe, to risk, to rest, to begin again without shame as a companion. Father, help me see grace not as a backup plan, but as the atmosphere I live in. Let it not be the last resort, but the first truth. Let it shape the way I speak to myself when I am tired or uncertain. Let it soften the edges of how I view others, especially when they fall short or push too hard. Let it remind me that the point was never perfection. It was always connection, always trust. I am starting to understand that grace is not opposed to growth. It is what makes growth possible. Because when I am not afraid of being unloved in my unfinished state, I can take the next step without fear of rejection. I can learn with open hands. I can fail without folding inward. I can fall and know that you will meet me not with disappointment, but with compassion, not with coldness, but with care. There is a beauty in knowing I am safe to be a work in progress, that I do not have to arrive to be welcome, that I do not have to prove my worth at the door. I belong because you say I do, and your word is not fragile. Your love is not temporary. Your grace does not shrink in the face of my flaws. It expands. So many times I have run from myself, from the parts that are slow to heal or hard to understand. But now I want to turn toward them. I want to hold them the way you do, not with frustration, but with kindness, not with pressure, but with patience. Teach me how to speak to myself like you speak to me, not demanding, not dismissive, but tender and true. Let grace shape how I walk through this day, not as an excuse to avoid responsibility, but as a posture of humility. Let it keep me grounded when I want to rise too quickly. Let it keep me open when I am tempted to close off. Let it be the force that slows my anger, quiets my defensiveness, and widens my compassion. Grace is strong in ways I never understood before. It absorbs hurt without passing it on. It tells the true truth without cutting people down. It holds space for others without losing itself. That is the kind of strength I want. Father, not the brittle kind that breaks under pressure, but the gentle kind that bends, breathes, and blesses. Even in my relationships, I can feel you inviting me to move from grace, not pride, to listen without planning my reply, to forgive without keeping score, to love without waiting for others to earn it. I know this is not easy. Grace often feels like the longer road. It does not satisfy the desire to win or be right, but it heals in ways winning never could. And when grace is hard to offer, when someone pushes beyond my patience or wounds me, without remorse, help me remember that grace is not about approving their actions. It is about refusing to let bitterness become my lens. It is about choosing freedom over fury, peace over power. It is about trusting that you see, you know, and you are enough to carry what I cannot change. I am not perfect at this. I may never be, but grace does not need me to be perfect. It needs me to be willing. Willing to begin again. Willing to stay soft when it is easier to harden. Willing to be shaped by something deeper than pride or fear. Willing to trust that the gentle way is not the weaker one, it is the holy one. Father, let your grace not just cover me, but transform me. Let it be more than a shield. Let it be the soil where new things grow. Let it touch how I see others. Let it cleanse how I carry my past. Let it guide how I walk toward what is next, not with pressure, but with peace. Let grace be my language, not just the words I speak to others, but the voice I use inside my own mind. Let it rewrite the scripts that shame has carved into me. Let it undo the pressure I have placed on every moment. Let it remind me that being human was never a flaw, it was part of the design. And that you, being all-knowing, still chose love. Even now, as I sit with you in this quiet place, I feel grace like warmth on my skin. I do not need to earn this moment. I do not need to deserve your nearness. You are here because you want to be, and that truth undoes me in the best way. Carry so much I was never meant to hold alone, but grace tells me I do not have to. It whispers that rest is holy, that I can lay things down without fear they will be forgotten, that nothing surrendered is wasted in your hands. Grace holds what I release. It breathes over what feels broken. It mends what I thought was beyond repair. So today, let grace be my rhythm. Let it be the reason I return to you, not out of guilt, but out of love. Let it be the balm I offer to others when they are too tired to ask for it. Let it be the way I look at myself in the mirror with softness, with truth, with hope. Grace does not fix everything instantly. It moves slowly, quietly, faithfully, but it never fails. It never gives up, and neither do you. And somewhere in the gentle strength of that truth, I find myself steady again. Father, your grace has softened the edges of my soul, and now I feel you leading me deeper, not just to rest in what has been healed, but to begin rebuilding from what has been broken. You never stop at the surface. You reach into the heart of things, and in this quiet moment with you, I sense you stirring something new within me, a courage not to erase the past, but to build forward from it, slowly, honestly, and wholly. You know, Father, how long I have lived trying to protect the fragile places inside me. How often I have built walls instead of foundations. I have spent so much time patching cracks with distraction, layering over pain with business, telling myself I was fine as long as I kept moving. But now that grace has met me where I am, I can return to old ways of survival. I do not want to keep hiding behind strength that is not real. I want to rebuild with you, and within you. This rebuilding is not flashy. There are no grand gestures here. No applause. Just small movements of trust, a steady willingness to return, a quiet decision to live in truth instead of illusion. You are not rushing me, and I am learning not to rush myself, because the kind of life you are inviting me into is not propped up by appearance. It is rooted in honesty. And honesty means facing things I have ignored. It means looking at what still aches, what still feels unfinished. It means asking questions I once buried and letting you answer in your time. Not with easy solutions, but with presence, with truth that does not shame but steadies. I want to build something real. Father, not just a version of myself that looks good from the outside. Not just a life that passes for peace, but a life that is lived from the inside out, where integrity begins in the quiet, where joy is not dependent on circumstance, where hope is not a mask but a muscle. There are things I must unlearn. I know. Patterns of thought that kept me small. Stories I told myself about not being enough. Habits that numbed instead of healed. And you are not condemning me for them. You are simply showing me a better way. One slow brick at a time. One surrendered moment at a time. Rebuilding means getting close to the ground again. It means learning the shape of my soul without filters. It means trusting that the small beginnings matter, that foundations laid in the dark still hold in the light, that sacred things often grow unnoticed until one day they bloom without warning. I am learning to value the unseen, the quiet disciplines, the humble choices, the pauses before I speak, the steps I take in forgiveness, even when no one else knows, the way I choose to stay soft when the world gets harsh. These are the bricks of the new life you are forming in me. These are the pieces of the house you are helping me build, not out of fear, but out of faith. Some days, I still feel scattered, like all my pieces are in different corners of the room. But you are not overwhelmed by my fragmentation. You see each part and know how it fits. Nothing is lost. Nothing is beyond redemption. Not the years I wasted. Not the parts I tried to forget. Not even the dreams I gave up on too soon. You gather what I cannot hold, and you shape it into something stronger than before. This process is not comfortable. And some days I want to turn back, but you meet me even there with kindness. not pressure, with grace, not judgment. And somehow, that steadiness gives me strength to stay, to keep building, to keep believing that you are not finished with me, and neither am I. Help me, Father, not to compare my pace to others, not to measure progress by what can be posted or praised. Teach me to notice the quiet miracles, like the moment I chose peace instead of control, or the day I finally told the truth without apology, or the night I let myself cry without shame. These moments may seem small, but they are sacred. They are signs that something new is taking shape. Let my rebuilding be rooted in trust, not striving. Let it reflect the gentleness you have shown me. Let it be slow enough to last, deep enough to hold, real enough to carry others when their strength falters. I do not want to build a tower. I want to build a home for your spirit to dwell, for love to rest, for truth to flourish. There will be days I forget. I know, days I fall back into old habits. But even then, I trust that you will not leave me, that you will remind me who I am, that you will sit with me among the rubble and whisper, "We begin again." Because that is what rebuilding is. It is not one grand act. It is 1,000 quiet yeses. It is learning to stay, to listen, to try again. And Father, I want to rebuild not only for myself, but for those around me too. I want to be a safe place, a person whose presence makes others feel like they can breathe, someone who carries peace instead of pressure, someone who shows that healing is possible, that starting over is holy, that nothing surrendered is ever wasted. Let my words reflect that. Let my actions carry that. Let my life speak of the grace that rebuilt me from the inside out, not in spite of my brokenness, but through it, because I believe that the most beautiful structures are not the ones untouched by time or trial, but the ones that bear the marks of redemption. Even now, as I sit in this quiet, I can feel the foundation settling beneath me. It is not made of certainty, but of trust, not of perfection, but of presence. And that is enough, because you are enough, and whatever is built upon you will not be shaken. So I will rise from this stillness with a heart that is still mending, but no longer afraid. I will take the next step, not because I know the outcome, but because I trust the one walking with me. I will keep laying down what no longer serves me, and picking up what leads me home. This is not the end of the story. It is the middle, the sacred, messy, honest middle, and I will not rush past it. I will not despise the small days. I will hold each one like a brick in my hands, offered to you, because I believe that what you are building in me is worth the time it takes. And maybe that is what faith is, trusting the blueprint even when I can see the whole picture, continuing the work even when the progress feels slow, showing up every day with open hands, willing to be shaped, stretched, and restored, not because I have to prove anything, but because I know you are already here, laying stone beside stone, line upon line, love within love. I want my life to echo the quiet strength of that kind of building. Not rushed, not polished, but real, whole, sacred, and still becoming. Father, I know you are here, and yet this morning I cannot feel you. It is a strange kind of quiet, the kind that does not soothe but unsettles. After so many days of rebuilding, of feeling your closeness in every breath, today feels like distance, like the echo of something once near. And though I want to believe this silence is not absence, my heart still struggles to rest in it. I keep thinking about what we started in the chapter. Before this life, you are helping me build, not with loud declarations, but with faithful, quiet choices. But now, in this silence, even those choices feel uncertain. The bricks I hold in my hand feel heavier. The foundation beneath me, though solid, seems suddenly dim. I reach for reassurance and find none. I call for comfort and hear no reply. Still, Father, I speak to you, not because I feel inspired, but because I must, because faith is not always built on feelings, but on the decision to return, even in the dark. You have taught me to trust not only when the sky is clear, but when the clouds refuse to part. And so I sit with this silence, not to fight it, but to learn from it. What if your silence is not punishment, but invitation? What if it is not emptiness, but space for something deeper to grow? Maybe you are not speaking because you are listening. Maybe you are not absent, but waiting, not distant. But still, teaching me to stop measuring your presence by noise, teaching me to recognize you in the unseen. This silence reveals parts of me I had hidden beneath the sound. It uncovers the H I had masked with movement. It brings up questions I have avoided and longings I dared not name. But maybe that is the point. Maybe you are not avoiding me at all, but drawing me to notice what still needs healing without rushing to fix, without drowning it in words. I do not want to fear the silence anymore. I want to enter it with open hands, knowing you are not lost in it. I want to trust that even when you do not speak, you are still working, still holding, still weaving something holy beneath the surface of what I can see. Maybe this is what it means to be mature, not needing constant reassurance, but learning to love you even when the path grows dim. The silence reveals what I cling to. It tests what I believe. And it shows me how quickly I trade trust for certainty, how easily I grasp for signs instead of surrender. But you are patient with me. Even here, you do not rush me out of the stillness. You let me sit in it until I begin to hear the quiet rhythm of your grace pulsing underneath. It may not speak in words, but it steadies me nonetheless. There is a strange comfort in this silence. Once I stop resisting it, a kind of sacred waiting, a depth I cannot reach in noise. And though my heart still longs for your voice, I begin to notice how you speak differently here. In the way the morning light softens the window, in the stillness that holds rather than abandons, in the breath that returns again and again. Even without being told to, I realize now that not all silence is empty. Some silence is full pregnant with meaning, thick with presence. But it takes time to perceive. It takes quiet within to notice the quiet without. And that is what you are forming in me. a heart that no longer fears the pauses, a soul that does not mistake quiet for rejection. Help me, Father, to stay when I feel nothing, to pray without drama, to sit without answers, to worship without response, because you are no less worthy in the silence than in the song. You are not defined by how loudly you speak, but by the depth of your love that never leaves even when your words do. Maybe you are asking me to grow deeper roots, to stretch my trust beyond where it has gone before. Maybe this silence is the soil where endurance grows, where love is tested and refined, where I learn to follow not because it feels good, but because I have chosen to belong to you fully. Regardless, I remember now that even Jesus walked through silence, that in the garden he prayed and heard no reply, that in the desert he faced the stillness and the waiting, and if he, too, knew silence, then I am not alone. This is not a punishment, it is a path, one you have walked before, one you walk with me still. Even when I cannot feel you, I choose to believe that you feel me, that you see the weight I carry in secret, that you understand the fatigue of faith when it has no wind behind it, that you honor the effort it takes to whisper yes when the room echoes back nothing. You are not unmoved by my silence. You are shaping it into something eternal. I want to stop demanding clarity and start welcoming communion. I want to rest not in understanding, but in being understood. Even now, when I feel fragile, you are not disappointed. You are still present like air I cannot see but still breathe, like light that remains even behind closed eyes. So I will keep walking, slowly, not because I see the road, but because I trust the guide. I will let this silence become a sanctuary instead of a threat. I will let it soften me instead of harden me. I will learn to hear what can only be heard when everything else is still. Father, if silence is part of your language, then teach me how to listen, not with my ears, but with my heart, not with expectation, but with trust. Let my prayers in the quiet be just as holy as my praises in the joy. Let me not lose heart when I hear nothing. Let me remember that you never stop loving, even when you stop speaking. And when your voice returns, whether in a whisper or a wave, let me receive it not as proof of your love, but as a continuation of it, because now I know you love me in the silence too. You hold me in the waiting. You are faithful even when you are quiet. I leave this space today not with the noise of certainty, but with the stillness of faith. And maybe that is what I needed all along, not more answers, but deeper trust, not more signs, but stronger roots, a soul that stands, even in the silence, because it knows the one who remains. Father, even in the quiet that still lingers from yesterday, I find myself reaching into the places where you once met me, where light broke through at the very moment I thought it would not, and perhaps that is the gentle thread you are weaving today. Remembrance, not as nostalgia, but as nourishment, not to long for what was, but to anchor me for what is and what will be. I cannot ignore how remembering changes the weight of today. The silence may still be here, but it no longer feels like emptiness. It now echoes with stories. My stories, yours, The moments you came through when I was on the edge. The times you moved when I least expected it. The mornings when the darkness did not lift immediately, but you gave me just enough strength to keep walking anyway. Those days did not make the headlines of my life, but they became the foundation I now stand on. Father, it is easy to forget. It is easy to let today's confusion cloud yesterday as clarity. To think that just because I can feel you right now, you were never there. But when I stop and look back, I see your fingerprints on the doors that did not open, on the prayers you did not answer the way I asked, on the healing that took years to arrive. I see how you held me, not just when I was strong, but especially when I was breaking. I remember the nights I cried myself to sleep and somehow woke up with the strength to try again. I remember the people you placed in my life at just the right moment, a text, a hug, a word I did not know I needed until it reached me. I remember the quiet nudges, the sudden peace that made no sense, the decisions that seemed small but turned out to be sacred. These memories are not just comforts. They are evidence. Evidence that you are who you say you are. Even when I forget, reminding myself of who you have been reawakens who I am becoming. I am not the same person who once begged you to fix everything. I am slowly becoming someone who trusts you even when you do not. Someone who can carry the questions without needing them all answered. Someone who sees that faith is not a feeling, but a memory that breathes alive. Growing, retelling the truth until I can walk in it again. You have never wasted anything, not the detours, not the delays, not even the despair. Every season that once felt like loss has birthed something new in me. Every unanswered prayer carried the weight of wisdom I did not know I needed. And when I remember that, the silence no longer feels cruel. It feels intentional. It feels like another thread being woven into the long story of grace you and I are writing together. Father, help me to become fluent in remembering. Let it be the language I turn when I forget how to pray. Let it be the well I draw from when I feel too tired to hope. Let it quiet my racing thoughts and remind me that we have been here before, that you have seen me through worse, that I did not come this far just to be abandoned now. Remembering makes the present bearable. It makes the future believable. Sometimes, I think you lead me into silence not to test me, but to give me space to remember, to lay down all the noise and revisit the truths that carried me here, to look back not in regret, but in gratitude, because even the things that broke me have shaped me. Even the moments I thought were endings were simply pauses, waiting to be rewritten by your hand. And when I remember, something shifts, not always the circumstances, but the posture of my heart. I stop grasping for what I can control and start resting in what I already know. I stop begging for signs and start thanking you for what you have already shown me, because the truth is, you have been faithful in 1,000 ways I never even saw, and even now, you are probably moving in ways I cannot yet perceive. I think of the stories you wrote in Scripture, how you asked your people to remember, to mark moments, to build altars not for worship of the past, but as a testimony for the future, to remind generations that even when the journey is long, the God who carried them through the wilderness still walks beside them in the waiting. And I want to build those altars in my heart. I want to make space for gratitude in the middle of uncertainty. Father, show me how to remember well, not through rose-colored lenses, but through the eyes of grace. Let me see even my failures as places where you met me with mercy. Let me see the closed doors not as rejection, but redirection. Let me see the pain I endured not as punishment, but as preparation. There is power in remembering, not just for comfort, but for courage. I want to carry these memories into my days, not like burdens, but like seeds. Seeds of hope that remind me this story is not over, that you are not done, that the same God who met me at my lowest is still present here, in the quiet, in the slow, in the in-between. And because I remember, I will not panic when I do not yet see. Because I remember, I will keep showing up with open hands and a steady heart. I know now that remembering is not about living in the past, but letting the past remind me of who you are. You are the same yesterday, today, and forever. So when doubt comes, I will speak back to it with stories. When fear whispers, I will answer with truth. When weariness weighs down, I will lean on the strength of all we have already walked through, and that will be enough to keep going. You have not changed, and if you were faithful then, you will be faithful now. And I will remember not just for myself, but for those around me who may have forgotten. I will carry stories not just to soothe my own heart, but to light the path for others still walking through the dark. That is how remembering becomes sacred. That is how it becomes powerful. And so, even in this silence, I feel steadier. Not because I know what tomorrow will bring, but because I remember who you have been. That is enough for today. That is enough to believe again. Father, as I rise again into this day, my heart still carries the gentle stillness of remembering, but something else stirs beneath it. The past, while it holds sacred evidence of your faithfulness, also carries shadows that sometimes creep back in today. And so, I bring this to you, because even as I try to move forward, I can feel the past tugging at me softly, but persistently. Not the past full of light, but the one layered in pain, in shame, in moments I would rather forget, moments I thought I had buried, only to find them resurfacing in a voice, a scent, or a silence that feels too familiar. Father, I want to remember what is true, but I also confess that sometimes what I remember is what hurt. I do not always revisit the miracles. Sometimes I revisit the mistakes, the regrets, the things I wish I had done differently. And when those memories rise, they do not whisper, they accuse. They echo with what ifs and why did this. And I find myself reliving wounds I thought were already healed. There are days when the past feels heavier than the present, when old lies wrap themselves in new disguises, and I do not always recognize them in time. I shrink again. I question again. I brace for impact even when nothing is threatening me now. And that is what unsettles me, not the presence of pain, but its persistence, its ability to slip back into the room when I am not watching, to pretend it belongs here. But I am learning. Father, that healing is not a straight line, that restoration is not forgetting, and maybe today is not about banishing the past, but about learning how to live with it without letting it lead. Maybe you are teaching me how to honor the wounds without reopening them, how to see the scars not as proof of failure, but as signs that I survived. So I ask you, meet me here in this complicated space, where yesterday tries to claim what you have already redeemed. Remind me that I am not who I was, even if the echoes still sound familiar. Remind me that just because I remember the pain does not mean I am still inside it. You have brought me through. You have rebuilt places I did not even know were broken. And though the past may knock, it no longer holds the keys. Father, help me release the parts of my story I keep rewriting in my head, the conversations I replay, the decisions I punish myself for, the seasons I keep comparing to now. Set me free from the burden of trying to fix what cannot be changed. Let me stop fighting ghosts. Let me start living whole. You have made me new, not perfect, but present. Not erased, but restored. There is a strange comfort in knowing that you are not afraid of my past. You do not flinch at the parts I try to hide. You do not rush me through the hard chapters. Instead, you sit with me in them. You hold space for all the versions of me that needed grace. And you offer it again now, not just as a reminder, but as a covering. You do not ask me to pretend I was not wounded. You simply ask me to stop letting those wounds define me. So I breathe deeply and choose today not to forget, but to reframe. To see the past not as a prison, but as a pathway. To acknowledge the shadows without letting them dim the light you are placing in front of me. To forgive myself again, even when the world does not. To name what hurt and still believe I am healing, not because it is easy, but because you are here, and in the places where my past still feels unresolved, where the chapters ended too abruptly, or the answers never came. Teach me to trust that closure is not always found in explanations. Sometimes it is found in surrender, in letting go of the need to make sense of everything, in laying down my need to rewrite the ending, and instead allowing you to write something new. Father, I do not want to walk backward today. I want to move gently forward, and maybe that begins with grace, not just for others, but for myself. Grace to not be haunted by who I used to be. Grace to stop performing for a version of me that no longer exists. Grace to believe that even if the consequences still linger, your compassion always runs deeper. Some memories may never disappear, but they do not have to dominate. They can exist without overtaking. They can sit quietly in the background while I choose joy in the foreground. They can hum without drowning out the melody of new beginnings you are composing now. Let me become a person who lives from redemption, not reaction. Someone who responds to triggers with truth, not fear. Someone who does not brace for what already passed. Someone who knows that scars are not shameful, they are sacred reminders that pain visited but did not win. So I walk into today, holding the past lightly, not erasing, not ignoring, but releasing, not afraid of what it held, because I know who holds me now. I am not what happened. I am what you are doing in me now. I am not bound by what I lost. I am grounded in what remains. And even when the old voices call, even when the familiar H returns, I will answer them with something stronger. The present peace you are cultivating in me. I will not let yesterday steal the beauty of today. I will speak grace over my own name. I will trust that even in the quiet return of old shadows, your light is louder, and that is enough. Let this be a morning of gentle defiance, a quiet refusal to live haunted, a bold choosing of presence over paralysis. You are here, I am here, and the past, though it may still echo, no longer dictates the song. Father, this morning, as I sit in the quiet with you, I feel the softer taste of yesterday as surrender still lingering in me. The past no longer holds the keys to my present. And yet, some of its pain still lingers, not in its story, but in its residue. And so, Father, here I am again, not returning to what I have released, but daring to ask a harder question. What do I still carry that no longer serves me? What hurt have I grown used to holding, not because it heals me, but because I have mistaken its weight for meaning? There are wounds I have not let go of, not because I do not want to, but because I have built entire ways of being around them. I have protected them like fragile glass, afraid that without them, I recognize myself. Some pain became so familiar that it almost began to feel like home. But I know you are calling me to something truer, not just to survive what hurt, but to release it entirely, to stop making space for what continually breaks me. Father, help me see clearly what I have been afraid to name, the unforgiveness I have justified, the bitterness I have disguised as boundaries, the disappointment I have buried beneath productivity. Let this be the morning when I look pain in the eye, not to re-engage it, but to release it, to bless what broke me for what it taught, and then to open my hands and let it go. I confess it is hard. Some hurt feels so justified, so rooted in betrayal or loss or unfairness, that letting it go feels like giving it permission. But you remind me that forgiveness is not agreement, it is freedom. That release is not forgetting, it is choosing not to relive. That healing does not require amnesia, only willingness. So even now, I take one small breath of courage and ask, show me what I am still gripping, even as I say I trust you. Help me surrender the grudges I have renamed as lessons, the stories I keep replaying in my mind, rehearsing every detail, as if doing so will give me back what I lost. Teach me that closure is not something I always get from others. It is something I can receive from you. And when I do not know how to let go, show me how to loosen my fingers, one small H at a time. Father, I lay before you the names I hesitate to speak aloud, the ones I have tied to my pain, the ones who disappointed me, misunderstood me, abandoned me, or hurt me. I lay down the need to be right. I lay down the silent hope that they will finally understand what they did. I lay down the imaginary conversations where I explain my pain until they finally validate it. Not because it does not matter, but because it matters too much to keep carrying like this. You have not asked me to minimize what happened. You are not rushing me, but you are inviting me into peace, into wholeness, into a place where my identity is not shaped by what wounded me, but by the one who heals me. And that healing may take time, but it also takes a choice to no longer nurture what is meant to be surrendered. So I choose today to begin, to gently pry open the places that have been clenched for so long, to notice the weight of resentment and ask if it is truly mine to carry, to trust that what I release, you will hold, and that in letting go, I am not losing, I am finally breathing. I am making room for joy, for possibility, for the kind of lightness that only comes from forgiveness fully lived. I also bring to you the pain I have caused, the words I regret, the silence I let stretch too far, the moments I failed to love well. Show me how to ask for forgiveness without shame. Show me how to be honest about my role in the wounds I carry, and how to make amends with sincerity. Not performance. Let me be someone who not only seeks peace, but also creates it within myself and with others. There are tears that still rise unexpectedly, old grief that flares without warning, and I do not want to judge those moments. I want to meet them with compassion, not control. Let them flow, but not drown me. Let them teach me, but not trap me. I want to become fluent in the language of release, not as a single act, but as a daily posture. Even in this very moment, I feel you reminding me that the process of letting go is not something I have to do alone. You walk with me through it. You take what I offer and turn it into something redemptive. You never waste a wound. And so even the pain I am surrendering now has a purpose, not to define me, but to deepen me, to grow roots of grace where bitterness once bloomed. I open my hands now, symbolically, literally, slowly, as if each finger carries a memory I have been afraid to lay down. And as I open them, I whisper not only a goodbye to the hurt, but a welcome to whatever you place in its absence, a deeper peace, a truer freedom, a steadier heart, a lighter soul. Thank you, Father, for being patient with me, for never shaming me for taking longer to release what wounded me, for always offering new mercies, even when I cling to old pain. You are not the voice of guilt. You are the voice of grace, and that voice is what I will listen to today. Let this morning be marked by quiet bravery, the kind that does not shout, but simply lets go, the kind that walks forward lighter, the kind that chooses softness over self-protection, the kind that no longer needs to prove anything, but simply lives, whole and present, because healing has made it possible. I may not know what healing looks like tomorrow, but I choose it today, not because I have forgotten what hurt, but because I am done letting it be the loudest voice in the room. You are here. You are enough. And that is the only weight I want to carry. Father, yesterday I opened my hands, loosening my grip on the burdens I had carried for too long. And yet today I find myself still circling the same memories, the same shadows, as if they are reluctant to leave, or as if I am hesitant to let them slip away completely. It is not one act, this release, but a steady rhythm of surrender, a repeated yes in the face of 1,000 reasons to hold on. Father, I bring this to you again, because I want freedom to sink into the deepest layers of my being, not only touching the surface of my heart, but transforming the way I live and breathe. I know there are echoes of pain that return like old songs I no longer wish to sing, and they surprise me in quiet moments. A familiar street, a sudden silence. The sound of someone else's ladder all can stir something I thought I had already released. Father, let me not despair in these moments. But remember that healing is not a straight road. It is a winding path where even the setbacks are still steps forward. As long as I continue walking toward you, I ask for the courage to revisit these places not as prisons but as testimonies, to see them not as proof that I am still bound, but as reminders that I am still being unbound. Teach me to approach them with gentleness, not judgment. Teach me to name them without shame, and to hold them up to your light until their sharpness fades. Sometimes I wonder why certain wounds linger. Perhaps it is because I fear what life will feel like without them. Pain has become familiar company, and letting it go feels like stepping into unfamiliar territory. But Father, I trust that you do not call me to release only to leave me empty. You call me to let go because you long to fill the space with something better, with peace, with clarity, with a kind of joy that does not depend on circumstances. So here I am, Father, practicing this release once again. I imagine placing each fragment of hurt into your hands, the harsh word that still stings when I remember it, the silence of someone who should have stood by me, the dream that never came to pass, the season that ended too soon. I place them all in your keeping, not because they do not matter, but because they matter too much for me to carry alone. Show me how to forgive in layers, not rushing the process, but also not resisting it. Help me to see that each act of letting go is an act of trust, and each moment of trust is a seed that will grow into new life. Even when it feels like nothing is changing, remind me that roots often grow in silence, and freedom often takes shape before it can be seen. I confess that part of me still clings to the need for answers. I want explanations, apologies, closure. Yet you whisper to me that peace is not found in the answers of others, but in the presence of the one who holds all truth. Father, help me to accept that I may never hear the words I long for, but I can still walk in freedom, because you are enough. There is also a hurt I carry toward myself, the mistakes I cannot undo, the choices I regret, the words I wish I had spoken differently. These are the hardest to release, because they are tied to my own reflection. But even here, Father, I choose to let go. I choose to believe that I am not defined by my failures, but by your love. Teach me to look at myself with the same compassion you offer me, and to stop rehearsing old accusations that you have already silenced. Father, I ask for the grace to live today lighter than yesterday, to notice when the old burdens try to climb back onto my shoulders and to refuse their weight, to practice release not just once in prayer, but throughout my day when impatience rises, when disappointment whispers, when memories knock on the door of my mind. Let every small act of letting go be a doorway into greater freedom. I picture myself walking through a wide field at dawn. The air is fresh, the horizon endless, and in my hands I hold nothing, I am free to move, free to breathe, free to notice the beauty around me. Father, let this be the picture that shapes my spirit today, not someone dragging chains of yesterday's pain, but someone moving with open hands and an unburdened heart. As I continue to release what hurts, fill me with what heals. Replace bitterness with tenderness, fear with courage, grief with gratitude. Let every surrendered H become an opening for something holy. And when I falter, when I cling again, draw me back with your kindness, reminding me that release is not a test I pass, but a practice I learn. I thank you that you are patient with me, that you never rush me, yet never abandon me in the process. I thank you that your mercies are new every morning, including this one, and that even my slow steps toward freedom are precious in your sight. Today, I will keep walking, keep opening my hands, keep choosing release, until what once held me no longer has power. Father, this is my offering this morning, not perfection, but process, not a story of instant release, but a heart that keeps coming back to you again and again, until letting go becomes the very rhythm of my life. Father, yesterday I laid before you the truth that letting go is not a single act, but a repeated choice. And today I wake again with both the peace of that surrender and the quiet pull of the burdens that still linger at the edges of my heart. It feels like every dawn is another chance to practice the freedom you have already promised. And so I step into this morning with my soul open, ready to learn what it means to walk lightly, not just to release, but to live as though I am truly unbound. Father, I sense how easy it is to reach for the weight I have already placed in your hands, as if I fear I will forget who I am without it. But you remind me that identity is not forged in pain, but in your love. So I ask for the grace to stop rehearsing the stories of hurt and instead to walk in the stories of hope you are writing even now. Let me no longer define myself by scars, but by the strength that grew through them. I imagine this path you have placed me on as a long road at sunrise. Behind me lie shadows, dim and stretching thin, and before me lies a horizon that grows brighter with each step. To keep walking toward that light, I must choose to face forward, to resist the temptation to glance back with longing at what I have already surrendered. And if I stumble, Father, let my eyes lift again to the light that never fades, reminding me that freedom is not a place I will one day reach, but a way I am called to travel. I bring to you the subtle fears that whisper still. What if I let go too soon? What if I lose the lessons hidden in the hurt? What if healing means forgetting, and forgetting means dishonoring what I endured? Father, teach me that letting go does not erase the past, it reclaims it. That I can carry wisdom without carrying wounds. That I can honor what shaped me without reliving it. Help me trust that nothing surrendered is wasted, and that everything released into your care is redeemed. Father, there are moments when I want to run ahead, to rush the process, to force myself into joy before it blooms naturally. But you invite me into steady trust, not hurried striving. So I pray for patience with myself, to notice the small freedoms already blossoming, the lighter step, the calmer breath, the softer words where anger once flared. Teach me to celebrate these quiet victories, knowing they are signs of your spirit at work in me. I also lift before you the relationships connected to my pain. Some may never be reconciled, some may heal slowly, and some may surprise me with new beginnings. Whatever the outcome, Father, let me hold them loosely, without control, without manipulation, without needing them to unfold my way. Give me the humility to bless from a distance when closeness is not possible, and the courage to step near when restoration is offered. Above all, let me be free from bitterness, even if reconciliation never comes. Father, I confess that sometimes freedom feels fragile, as though a single memory could unravel it. But you remind me that freedom is not my fragile grip on peace, it is your unshakable grip on me. Even when I falter, even when old thoughts intrude, you do not release me. I am held in something stronger than memory, something deeper than circumstance. I am held in your eternal love, and nothing can take me from it. So I choose to walk today with lighter steps, to greet this morning as one who has been unburdened, not because the past has disappeared, but because I am learning to carry only what you ask me to carry. I want my words, my choices, my very posture to reflect this freedom. I want others to sense it not as forced cheer, but as quiet strength, the kind that comes only from being released by love. Father, show me how to weave this release into the fabric of my everyday life. When worry rises, let release be my answer. When anger sparks, let release calm my spirit. When regret whispers, let release remind me that yesterday has no claim on today. Let this rhythm of letting go become as natural as breathing, until my life itself becomes a living prayer of trust. I picture again the open field at dawn, the one you showed me yesterday, and now I see myself walking further, the light stronger, the air warmer. My hands are still open, but now they are not just empty, they are ready to receive joy without suspicion, ready to welcome love without fear, ready to embrace peace without doubting if it will last. Father, this is the gift of freedom, not just to let go, but to live ready, to live open, to live awake to what you are placing before me. Thank you for teaching me that freedom is not a distant dream, but a present choice. Thank you for showing me that even the act of returning to release again and again is itself a sign of growth, a sign of trust, a sign that I am being remade. And thank you that you never tire of walking this road with me, patient in my weakness, rejoicing in my progress, steady in your love. So here I am in this new morning, Father, choosing once more to step forward, to breathe deeply, to open my hands wide to you. May today be marked not by what I still carry, but by what I have released, and may the space I have cleared be filled only with your peace, your presence, and your unshakable love. Father, yesterday I learned again that freedom is not only about releasing what once weighed me down, but also about learning how to walk in that release, how to live each moment with open hands and a lighter heart. This morning I come back to you with that same desire, but also with a deeper longing that the release would not simply be an act I return to when pain rises, but that it would become my steady way of being. Father, I want letting go to move from a practice into a posture, from something I attempt into something that becomes as natural as breath. I know there are still layers I have not touched, burdens that hide beneath the surface, hurts I only notice when silence grows long. Sometimes I feel that I have emptied my hands, and yet in unexpected moments, I find myself clutching at shadows again, surprised by how much still lingers. But you remind me that this journey is not about perfection, it is about presence. As long as I am walking toward you, as long as I am willing to open my hands again and again, I am already being changed. Father, show me the places in my heart that resist release, the places where fear whispers that letting go will leave me unprotected, the places where pride insists that holding on proves my worth, the places where sorrow convinces me that if I release, I will dishonor what I lost. Teach me to recognize those lies and to replace them with your truth. That release is not weakness. That surrender is not erasure. That freedom is not denial, but the most honest way of living. I confess that some hurts I hold feel tied to identity, as though they define who I am. The rejection I once endured, the betrayal I still remember, the loss that shaped my days, they have carved deep grooves in me. And yet you remind me that those grooves are not prisons, but places where new life can grow. If only I let you plant seeds of grace. Father, transform the very ground of my pain into the soil of my becoming. Let every release create space for roots of peace to take hold where bitterness once lived. I think of how the seasons turn, how autumn lets the leaves fall without resistance, not because they are worthless, but because their purpose is complete. The tree does not mourn the leaves forever, nor does it cling to them. It trusts that letting them fall is the only way to prepare for what comes next. Father, let my soul learn from that rhythm. Help me to release not with despair, but with trust, believing that what I let fall will make room for new growth in its time. There are days when my heart still aches, unexpectedly, and I am tempted to believe that release has failed. But you teach me that release is not measured by the absence of pain, but by the presence of peace within it. I can feel grief and still be free. I can remember loss and still move forward. I can acknowledge what hurt without letting it rule me. Father, let this truth take root in me, so that I do not confuse healing with forgetting, nor peace with indifference. I also bring to you the small irritations and disappointments that I often dismiss as unimportant, but still carry in hidden ways. The words left unsaid, the misunderstandings unresolved, the plans that did not unfold as I hoped. Teach me to release even these small burdens quickly, before they gather weight. Let me practice release in the ordinary moments, so that when greater trials come, my heart will already know the rhythm of surrender. Father, I long to walk with an uncluttered soul, to rise each morning not dragging yesterday behind me, but stepping into today with openness and hope. Let release make space in me for joy to return without suspicion, for love to flow without walls, for gratitude to rise without being drowned by regret. Let the freedom you give not only heal my heart, but reshape my life, until even those who know nothing of my story can sense the peace that lives within me. I thank you for the quiet strength you offer each time I choose release. It is not my strength alone that carries me, but your spirit breathing courage into me. I could not do this without you. Father, Left to myself, I would keep clutching at pain, mistaking it for identity, but you keep inviting me into a better way. Thank you that your patience never wears thin, that you rejoice in every small act of letting go, and that you never measure me by how quickly I move, but by how honestly I keep returning. So this morning, Father, I choose once more to open my hands. I choose to let fall whatever I still hold too tightly. I choose to trust that what leaves me in release makes space for what only you can give. And I choose to walk forward lighter, freer, more whole than yesterday. May this day carry the imprint of release, not as a task completed, but as a song lived, a song that rises quietly in the heart and grows louder with each step toward you. Yesterday, I placed myself again in the rhythm of release, learning how to let go not only of the great burdens of the past, but also of the small weights that cling quietly to the corners of my soul. Today, I wake with a longing for something deeper, not just to practice release as an act, but to rest in the stillness that comes afterward. Father, I want to know the quiet of trust, the peace that follows surrender, the steadiness of a heart no longer consumed by holding on. It feels unfamiliar at first. For so long I have been defined by the tension of carrying and the effort of letting go that I scarcely know how to simply rest. When my hands are finally open, my heart still searches for something to grasp, some weight to replace the one I laid down. But you are teaching me that stillness itself is not emptiness. It is fullness, waiting to be discovered. It is the quiet where I finally recognize that you are near and that your presence is enough. Father, draw me into that stillness now. Let me sit with you without the need to explain, without the urgency to fix, without the pressure to perform. Let this moment be more than words. It is breath. It is silence. It is the deep awareness that I am held. When I grow restless, when I want to move too quickly into new battles or new worries, remind me that release is not only about letting go, but about learning to dwell in the peace that follows. I confess that trust feels risky. It feels like leaning back into something I cannot control, like resting on ground I cannot see. But again and again you remind me that trust is not blind, it is anchored. It is anchored in who you are, not in what I feel. It is anchored in the truth that you have never failed me, even when my circumstances suggested otherwise. It is anchored in the quiet assurance that your goodness is steady even when everything else shakes. Teach me, Father, to trust like the still waters you lead me beside. They are not frantic. They are not rushing. They move gently, reflecting the sky above them. Let my soul reflect that same calm, a mirror of your presence, unshaken by the winds that pass overhead. Let me grow familiar with this kind of peace, so that it becomes my resting place rather than a fleeting glimpse. In this stillness, I also want to learn how to listen, to hear the whispers I often miss in the noise of my striving. Perhaps you have been speaking all along, but my clenched fists and racing thoughts drowned out your voice. Now, with open hands and a slower heart, I ask to hear you, not always in thunder, not always in miracles, but in the gentle nudge, the quiet word, the subtle reminder that I am not alone. Father, show me how trust transforms not only my spirit but my actions. When I am anchored in trust, I do not need to defend myself so fiercely. I do not need to chase every answer or control every outcome. I can live more freely, more generously, more kindly, because I am no longer bracing for loss at every turn. Trust loosens my grip not just on the past, but on the future. It lets me breathe deeply in the present, believing that you are already there, working even when I cannot see. I bring to you the places where trust feels hardest, the unanswered questions, the relationships unresolved, the prayers still waiting for response. Father, help me resist the urge to use trust as a bargaining tool, as if my release would guarantee the outcome I want. Instead, let trust be its own reward, its own freedom, its own resting place. May I find joy not in what I control, but in what I have entrusted fully to you. I imagine myself sitting at the edge of a quiet lake at dawn. The mist rises slowly, the water perfectly still, and in that reflection I see not my worries, but the vastness of the sky above me. Father, let my heart learn from that stillness. Let me remember that peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of calm within them. Let me carry that calm with me into every room, every conversation, every decision today. Thank you for being patient as I learn this new rhythm. Thank you that you do not shame me when I rush back into striving, but gently call me into rest again and again. Thank you that the stillness of trust is not something have to manufacture. It is something you invite me into, something you hold open for me every single morning. So here I am, Father, in this dawn hour, with open hands and a quiet spirit. I choose to rest. I choose to trust. I choose to dwell in the stillness that follows release. May this stillness shape me, steady me, and prepare me for whatever lies ahead, reminding me always that I am not alone, for you are here, and that is enough. Father, yesterday I found myself in the stillness of trust, learning to breathe more slowly, to resist the urge to grasp at new burdens, to simply rest in the calm that comes after release. Today, as the morning light touches the world again, I feel you leading me into the next step, the place where trust deepens through memory. Father, I want to remember not in the way that reopens wounds or drags me backward, but in the way that anchors me in what you have already done, in the countless ways you have proven that your love is steady and true. There is power in remembering. I think back to seasons where I was certain I would not make it through, yet somehow I did, not because I was strong enough, but because you carried me when I could not walk, because you sent comfort when despair tried to silence me, because you provided in ways I could never have imagined. Each moment of rescue, each whisper of hope, each quiet provision, all of them are threads that weave the story of my life. A story that points not to my strength, but to yours. Father, remind me of those moments when I am tempted to forget. Remind me of the night I thought would never end, but the dawn came anyway. Remind me of the weight I thought I could never lay down, but somehow you helped me release it. Remind me of the loneliness that felt unbearable, yet you surrounded me with love I did not expect. These memories are not accidents. They are altars, markers of your faithfulness that I can return to whenever doubt whispers or fear rises. I confess that too often I forget. I move quickly from one season to another, from one answered prayer to the next worry, from one blessing to the next demand. I rarely pause to remember, and because of that, I often feel as if every struggle is brand new, as if I have never seen your goodness before. But today, Father, I want to resist that forgetfulness. I want to linger in memory long enough for gratitude to grow, long enough for trust to deepen, long enough for joy to return in full. Help me recall not only the great miracles, but also the small mercies, the days when the strength I needed came in the form of a kind word, or the quiet beauty of a sunrise, or the peace of knowing I was not alone, even in silence. Teach me that remembering does not always require grand stories. It can be as simple as noticing the breath in my lungs this very morning, a gift I did not earn but freely receive. Father, I also ask you to help me remember who I am in you, not defined by my failures or my wounds, but by the truth that I am loved, chosen, and held. When shame tries to drag me back, remind me of the cross that silenced its voice. When fear tries to steal my future, remind me of the promises that cannot be broken. When despair tries to erase my hope, remind me of the countless times you have already turned mourning into dancing, sorrow into song. There is a quiet strength in remembering. It does not erase today's challenges, but it places them in perspective. It reminds me that if you were faithful then, you will be faithful now. If you carried me through storms before, you will not abandon me in this one. If you turned darkness into light once, you are able to do it again. Father, let remembering become a shield against doubt, a steady anchor when the winds of fear try to uproot me. I think of how the people of old built stones of remembrance, setting them in the ground as markers for future generations. They wanted their children to see those stones and ask what they meant, so that the story of your faithfulness would not be lost. Father, let my life hold such markers, not just for me, but for those who come after me. Let the way I live, the way I trust, the way I recall your goodness, become a testimony that speaks even when my words are silent. Father, in this moment of quiet, I recall the times when I almost gave up but did not, the times when I felt forgotten but was not, the times when I thought the story was over, but it was not. These memories become fuel for today's faith. They remind me that every ending I feared was only a beginning you had already written. They remind me that nothing is wasted, that even the most painful chapters can become the very places where your grace shines brightest. So I choose to remember. I choose to look back not with regret, but with gratitude. I choose to gather the fragments of my past and hold them up as proof that you have always been here, working, guiding, redeeming. And as I remember, I find strength for today, courage for tomorrow, and peace in this very moment. Father, thank you for the gift of memory, not to keep me trapped in sorrow, but to set me free in hope. Thank you that even when I forget, you do not forget me. Thank you that your faithfulness does not depend on my ability to recall it, but that every act of remembering opens my heart wider to receive it. Here in this new morning, I remember, and in remembering, I find myself rooted again in trust, ready to take the next step, knowing that the same God who carried me before will carry me still. Father, this morning feels different. Not because the world outside has changed overnight, but because something inside me has been reshaped by the journey I have walked with you through these 23 mornings before. Each step, each word, each whisper of surrender has carried me closer to the truth that has always been present, that I am not abandoned, that I am not defined by what I carry or what I lack, but by the love that holds me steady through it all. Today is not just another day. It is a culmination, a threshold, a quiet crossing into the kind of faith that no longer feels fragile, but rooted, no longer unsure, but alive. Father, thank you for walking me through the valleys of pain and teaching me to name them without fear. Thank you for standing with me in the shadows and showing me that they do not last forever. Thank you for reminding me that forgiveness is possible, that healing is real, that peace is not a myth, but a gift you place gently in my hands each time I dare to open them. This journey has been long, and yet it feels like only a beginning, because every prayer, every tear, every release has opened a doorway to more of you. I find myself now remembering the earliest mornings of this path, when my words were tangled in desperation, when my heart barely dared to hope. The cries then were raw, unshaped, filled with longing that felt too heavy to carry. And yet, even in those early hours, you heard me. You bent low to gather my words, even the broken ones, and turned them into something sacred. Looking back, I see now how each chapter has been a gentle progression, a movement from H into trust, from silence into song, from burden into freedom. And though the wounds of life have not disappeared, they have been transformed. Father, as I close this chapter of prayer, I do not close my heart. If anything, I feel it opening wider. I realize now that prayer is not confined to words spoken in the stillness of morning, but is the breath of my life, the rhythm of my soul. It is the way I walk, the way I see, the way I choose to respond to every moment. You have taught me that prayer is not something I leave behind once it is spoken, but something I carry with me into the ordinary and the unexpected, into the joys and the sorrows alike. And so, I ask that the strength I have found here will remain with me when the noise of the world returns. Let these mornings become more than memory. Let them become the foundation I build upon when fear rises. Let me remember how you calmed me when bitterness tempts me. Let me recall the freedom of forgiveness when sorrow weighs me down. Let me remember the joy of release. And when silence falls heavy, let me recall that silence is not absence, but a deeper presence waiting to be felt. Father, I know that this journey is not the end, but a doorway. Beyond it lie new struggles, new seasons, new uncertainties. But I no longer face them with the same trembling as before. I step into them with confidence, not in myself, but in you. I believe that the same hand that carried me here will carry me still. The same love that shaped these prayers will shape what comes next. And I believe that every ending in you is only the beginning of something greater, something unseen yet already alive in your design. This chapter may be the last in this collection of prayers, but it is not the last in my story. My story continues with you, Father, as it always has. And so I do not mark this moment with finality, but with hope. Hope that what has been spoken here will ripple outward, touching not only my life, but the lives of those who hear it. Hope that every word released in faith will find a home in the heart of another. Hope that the seeds planted in stillness will grow in ways unseen, bearing fruit in seasons yet to come. To those who have walked with me to this point, I want to pause and offer gratitude. Thank you for listening, for opening your heart alongside mine, for daring to lean into the quiet and let these words echo into your own story. Thank you for carrying your burdens honestly, for choosing to sit in the tension of trust, for finding courage in the release and strength in remembering. You have not simply heard prayers, you have become part of them. As this journey reaches its close, I want to invite you into something more. Share what stirred in you. Speak aloud or write down the whispers that rose in your spirit along the way. Let your voice join with mine, not as an echo but as a continuation. Because prayer is never just one person speaking, it is a chorus. A gathering of hearts lifting together toward the one who hears. And if these mornings have spoken to you, I invite you to remain connected. Subscribe, share. Let these prayers travel beyond you to reach those who may still be searching for hope in their own dawn. Together, we can carry this flame forward, reminding one another that faith is not a solitary path, but a shared journey, a thread that binds us across distance and story and struggle. Father, as I look to the horizon, I feel the gentle promise of new beginnings rising within me. The sky is shifting now, the first light spreading slowly across the edges of night. It is soft, golden, tender, like grace made visible. The air carries the cool touch of morning, a reminder that every day begins fresh. Every dawn carries mercy new and unspent. And as I breathe it in, I know this is not an ending, but an opening. The prayer continues, not in these words alone, but in every heartbeat that leans toward you, in every step taken with faith, in every quiet act of trust that blooms in the midst of uncertainty. And so I rise now into this morning, into this day, into this life renewed, carrying with me the assurance that what has begun here will not end here. The light stretches further now, reaching across the sky. Touching the earth awake, I stand in its glow, unafraid, unburdened, ready, and in the hush of dawn, I step forward into the warmth of the rising sun, into the whisper of a breeze that carries hope, into the living waters that never run dry.